to Alpha Audio Publishing.
Chapter 1. The cold wind whipped through the trees as a massive black wolf lunged from the shadows, fangs bared, eyes burning with fury. My heart slammed against my ribs. I was about to die, or worse, be dragged back to a pack that would tear me apart for being what I am, a rogue. But wait, what if the hunter wasn't just any wolf? What if he was the one person fate had chosen for me, and he hated me on sight? My name is Ravinia Woods, and this is the moment everything shattered. I tore through the woods on all fours, Galen's powerful limbs devouring the earth beneath us. The rush was electric, midnight blue first slicing through crisp air, pine needles sharp against my senses, the wild thrum of freedom pounding in my veins. No alpha barking orders. No pack weighing me down. Just me, Galen, and the raw, untamed joy of running wild. Faster, Galen. Run faster, I urged, and she surged ahead, muscles coiling like lightning. The world blurred into pure sensation. Wind howling in my ears, damp earth exploding under paws, the sharp, alive scent of pine and moss flooding our lungs. Peace. Real, bone-deep peace. Then Galen slowed, paws sinking into soft bank beside a glassy lake. The water shimmered, cool and inviting. She dipped her head, lapping greedily. The icy slide down her throat made my own mouth ache with thirst. Let's shift back, I murmured inwardly. Okay. Bones cracked and reformed in that familiar, searing rush. Human again, jet black curls tumbling down my back. I shrugged my leather jacket straight, popped the collar, and knelt to scoop handfuls of water. It rushed down my throat like liquid silver, clean, cold, perfect. I sighed, sinking onto the mossy shore, letting the forest's hush wrap around me like a blanket. Nothing beats this. It's so peaceful, I whispered to Galen. Yeah, very peaceful. The alpha of this territory is lucky. My breath snagged. Territory. What do you mean, Galen? My voice came out thin, nervous. We're on someone's land. Didn't you smell the markers? Ice flooded my veins. Rogue on pack territory? That was a death sentence, or worse, a lifetime of torment. I have to get out of here. I shot to my feet, ready to shift. Snap. A branch cracked behind me like gunfire. A bone-rattling growl exploded through the trees, deep, primal, furious. Galen seized control in an instant. Fur erupted, limbs lengthened, and we bolted, heart hammering, terror clawing up my throat. But he was already there, a huge black wolf bursting from the bushes, closing the gap with terrifying speed. We zigzagged desperately through the forest, leaves whipping our face, lungs burning. Run faster, Galen. Please. I begged inside. I'm going as fast as I can, he's gaining, she cried, pushing harder than ever. We ran until the world narrowed to panic and pounding paws. Until a towering fence loomed ahead. Too high to leap. Gaps too narrow to squeeze. Trapped. I spun, and there he was. Cornered. The black wolf shifted in a ripple of power. A young man emerged my age, radiating raw alpha dominance. Black hair, storm gray eyes locked in a glare, body carved like a weapon. Sharp, dangerous features, yet something magnetic, pulling at me even through the fear. Galen squirmed under his stare. What was this feeling? Shift, he commanded, voice like thunder wrapped in iron. Instinct slammed into me. Rogue or not, no wolf defies that tone. I shifted back, naked vulnerability crashing over me. Our eyes met, and sparks ignited. Literal sparks danced in his gaze. Mine answered. Mate, we both gasped at once. The word hung between us, electric and impossible. Hope flared wild in my chest, until I saw his face twist in disgust. My mate is a rogue, he spat, venom dripping from every syllable. My heart cracked open, raw and bleeding. Galen whimpered inside me. He was supposed to want me. Accept me. Instead, my mate is completely rude, I shot back, crossing my arms, forcing steel into my voice. Guess we're even. His face flushed crimson. That's no way to speak to an alpha. No, but it's exactly how you speak to your mate. Fury blazed between us. I refused to flinch. No one disrespects Ravinia Woods and walks away, I growled. He paused. Wait, your name is Ravinia Woods? Yes. Confusion cut through my anger. He cleared his throat, voice hardening again. I, Calix River, Alpha of the Climax Night Pack, reject you, Ravinia Woods, as my Pax Luna, and as my mate. The words landed like a blade. Everything inside me shattered. Why? My voice broke, small and raw. Do you know how it would look? The most feared alpha in the state, saddled with a rogue? They'd think I'd gone weak. Why would I want someone like you? His reputation. Not me. Never me. A memory flashed, France's laughter echoing through the trees. Then come and catch me, Ray Ray. Innocent joy I'd lost forever. Tears burned behind my eyes. Why would anyone want a broken rogue like me? Now get out of here, he snarled, pointing at the fence. That was it. The final shove. I wouldn't let him see me break. I crawled through a gap, legs shaking, and ran, tears streaming only once the trees hid me. Why does fate always rip happiness away? Why does my heart have to hurt this much? I stumbled into neutral ground, into Mary's snack shack. Adela's warm smile greeted me from behind the counter. Hey, Ravinia. We talked. About the feared alpha nearby. Calix River. He arranged and almost made. The uncertainty. Galen whined at the thought of him with someone else. It hurt, physically hurt, but I buried it deep. If he already has a Luna, he can keep her. Later, back at his pack house, Calix let Kate hug him. She was kind. Perfect Luna material. But she wasn't his mate. And deep down, even as he wrapped an arm around her waist, it felt wrong. Liar, his wolf Clayton growled inside him. He ignored it. Walked to his office. But the image of black curls, cognac eyes, and fierce defiance lingered, refusing to fade. Chapter 2. Ravinia, it has been 2 years since my rejection, and I have gone through a few changes in my life, but nothing drastic. I grew out my hair so now it reaches my hips. The other big change is that I have started to attend more pack parties, specifically at packs that do not mind rogues on their territory, like Adela's pack. Adela and I were at another pack's party, having an amazing time. We were both dancing and singing to the music as if no one was watching. It made me feel alive, almost as exciting as a run through the woods in my wolf form. And if you like midnight driving with the windows down, and if you like going places we can't even pronounce, if you like to do whatever you've been dreaming about, baby, you're perfect. Baby, you're perfect. So, let's start right now. We both sang loudly as the song came to an end. Have another drink, Ray Ray, Adela said, handing me a chilled beverage. I shrugged carefully as I finished the drink. That is another thing I have been doing more of in these past 2 years. Drinking doesn't affect werewolves much, as we need to consume large amounts to feel anything, and, due to our incredible healing abilities, our bodies don't retain the ill effects. I headed toward the DJ, stumbling slightly. Please stop. You're making me feel unwell, Galen whined. I rolled my eyes at her in annoyance. I've only had a few, so relax a bit. It will pass soon. Still, please stop. Let me talk to the DJ first, and I'll think about it. I managed to make it to the DJ without falling and began to talk to him. Play something upbeat, I said, leaning on the booth for support. He looked at me with a skeptical expression. However, his gaze changed as I tried to be charming, leaning closer to talk over the music. Please play something great. I need it, I urged. Anything for a lady like you, he replied. A slow, rhythmic song started to play, and I gave him a sly smile. I danced near him for a moment, enjoying the music, before I stepped away and began to walk off. Hey, he called out, sounding frustrated as I left him behind. I ignored him as I grabbed my leather jacket, said goodbye to Adela, and left the pack house. I love being a bit of a tease sometimes. Just because my love life is difficult doesn't mean I have the right to ruin things for others. It was nice to see other couples enjoying the music together. It would be nice if I had a mate who could listen to that song with me. My head hurts. Galen is going to argue with me about this in the morning. I am glad to feel a bit numb, though. It helps me forget about the challenges I face. The world can be a cold and cruel place, especially to someone like me. In one moment, the world seems to cherish your happiness. but then it can snatch it away, leaving you with nothing but troubled memories and a bruised past. The world has taken things from me, and it never once given me a reason to be grateful for living. Not back then, and certainly not now. The only reason I keep going is that I made a promise to myself to live my life to the fullest. Enough deep thoughts. The other reason I like to let go sometimes is that it helps me deal with the heartache of my rejection. It just helps. I don't care what others have to say about it. They don't know what pain lurks in my heart, and I am not just talking about the rejection. I'll admit I took it too far this time. I can barely walk down the sidewalk. I feel like singing again. I don't want to be your friend. I want to be your lover until the end. I sang at the top of my lungs. As I sang my heart out, I stumbled over my own feet and began to fall. But instead of slamming face first into the sidewalk, strong hands grabbed my shoulders and carefully set me on my feet. I turned around and, to my surprise, I came face to face with my rejecter. Calix River, Galen commented, sounding overjoyed. I nodded and then glared at him. I don't want to be your friend or anything else, so leave me alone, I snapped as I began to walk away. I did not walk 2 steps before tripping over my own feet again. Once again, Calix caught me. Only this time, he picked me up and carried me. Don't touch me, I said. That's a weird way of showing gratitude to someone who just stopped you from falling. Twice, Calix commented. I huffed in annoyance because he was right. Thank you. Now put me down. Not until I get you home. He began to walk, but in the opposite direction from where my temporary home in the forest was. I looked at him in annoyance while his face remained like stone, void of emotion. The other way, I stated, pointing toward the direction he should be going. We're going back to my home. To my pack house, he replied bluntly. I'm not going anywhere with you, I exclaimed. I immediately began struggling in his arms, trying to get out of his hold. His grip tightened. Stop struggling and just go to sleep, he commanded harshly in his alpha tone. My eyes widened at his tone, making me curl up against his chest. Yes, sir, I said timidly. I relaxed against his chest, and his tense body soon unwound. I looked up at him to see that he still had an annoyed expression on his face, but he was not angry anymore. It soon became silent, and I drifted off to sleep, just as Calix commanded. Calix, I cannot believe I have found my mate again after all this time. This actually works out for me. Now my father can stop pressuring me about not having a Luna for the pack. What about finally having a mate to love and cherish? Clayton asked in annoyance. I don't need a mate if it's a rogue like her, I thought back. She is a rogue, she will never be my equal. But she can serve as the Luna. This way, my pack has a leader, and they will be more accepting of her because she is my mate, even if I don't see her that way. I think our mate is beautiful, and she is the best thing that will ever happen to us, Clayton replied angrily and then blocked me off. I huffed at his outburst. How can he be so attached? She is not worth my affection. She may be my mate, but I will never love her. Chapter 3. Ravinia, my eyes flutter open, and I slowly sit up. My head feels like it is splitting apart, and the pain is so sharp that it is almost numbing my senses. I have a feeling this isn't just a hangover. Galen is getting back at me for last night. Likewise, Ravinia, she replied, her tone dripping with annoyance. I ignored her as I sat up and looked at my surroundings. My eyes widened in surprise when I saw a cozy, homey-looking room. It was plain with a black, gray, and white color scheme, yet it was quite nice. It had a TV, a walk-in closet, a connecting bathroom, and a balcony with dark wood-framed glass doors. The more I sat in this room, the more I liked it. But even though the room was nice, it made me very uncomfortable. Memories of last night came crashing back, and the only thing I could manage to say was, "Where am I?" I mumbled this to myself until the door suddenly burst open. I jumped, ready to defend myself as I looked over and saw Calix. That's our mate, Galen commented, sounding annoyed with me. As I said, an asshole, I thought back. Calix looked around before resting his eyes on me. His mouth curved into a smirk when he saw me, and he walked over to the bed. Hey, he casually greeted. He is still so handsome. His voice sounds amazing as well, Galen gushed. Wolves feel the mate bond strongly, so her reaction was normal, but it got on my nerves because she seemed to forget how he had treated us. Be quiet, I snapped before glaring at Calix in annoyance. There's a headache pill and some water on the table next to you. I thought you might need it since you were so out of it last night, he said, pointing to the nightstand. I looked at the water with a feeling of resentment. He thinks he can give me a glass of water, and I will suddenly be grateful to him after he shattered my heart? I don't think so. I turned a hostile gaze toward him, and his eyes widened slightly in surprise at the intensity. My head continued aching, but I could handle it. I don't need anything from you, I spat out as I stood up. Why am I here? Well, my pack needs a Luna and... I cut him off as I began laughing, but there was no humor in it. My tone was dripping with disdain and anger. Sadness was lingering there, too. I might act tough, but it is a front to hide my pain. I know I could still love if I tried. That part of me hasn't died, but could someone even love me? Tears began to appear, so I quickly looked down, pretending to laugh. I finally stopped and looked up once I had composed myself to glare at Calix. I can't believe your arrogance. You think I'll rush into your arms because you ask? I'm leaving because you already have a perfect Luna. I continued mumbling under my breath as I made my way to the door until I felt him grab my wrist and pull me back, halting my exit. Correction, I did have a candidate for Luna, but she found her mate and moved to his pack. Oh, good for her. Now she's free from you. He glared at me before continuing. Anyway, so now I need a Luna, and that is you. Congratulations. I scoffed and rolled my eyes. He was annoying me with his sarcasm. You're sarcastic all the time, Galen pointed out. I know I am, but he doesn't get to do that with me, I replied. If I remember correctly, I continued, you rejected me as the Luna and as your mate. So technically, I'm not allowed to be the Luna of your pack. Oh, you will soon be a Luna. I stared at him in confusion as his grip on my wrist lowered, and he grasped my hand. I stared down at our joined hands, my heart fluttering slightly despite the pain. If he had accepted me originally, this would have made me so happy. Would I have found a reason to smile again? I looked up to meet Calix's sharp gray eyes when I heard him clear his throat. I, Calix River, Alpha of the Climax Night Pack, re-accept you, Ravinia Woods, as my pack's Luna and as my mate. I glared at his re-acceptance and spoke up in anger. It's too late for... I gasped in shock as sparks burst throughout my body when I felt his touch. I fell to my knees with my hand still held in his. The sensation left me feeling numb with a strange delight. It's the mate bond. He's reforming it, Galen gushed like a love-struck girl. I had to cut her off before I felt sick. Galen, stop. I am not happy about this. Don't be upset. I'm letting you have a mate, and I get a Luna, Calix stated, his voice incredibly monotone. Stay out of my head, I exclaimed angrily, ripping my hand from his. But once our fingers were no longer touching, I felt a strong need to be near him. I wanted him to hold me. I wanted to feel those sparks again. Why did I long for this? I think this is what the bond feels like. His words suddenly replayed in my head, and I looked up at him in confusion. What do you mean by you get a Luna and I get a mate? Don't you want a mate? Of course I want a mate, but not you. Of course. I am a rogue. Why would he love me? Besides, I'm using this as a way to ensure my father doesn't try to hook me up with anyone else. The first arrangement was annoying enough, he replied bluntly. So, I am nothing more than a pawn. Not a person worthy of affection. Nothing has changed, I whispered. He hasn't changed his mind about me in the 2 years since he rejected me. I turned my back to him and sat on the bed, so he couldn't see my frustration or the emotional turmoil in my eyes. Why would anything change? Time moves on for everyone, even for someone like me. I wish I could change the past, but that isn't how it works. Time waits for no one. A tear of sorrow went down my cheek as a memory passed through my mind. France smiled at me, his teeth shining in the summer sun. Hey, Ravinia. Can we go for a run? He asked sweetly. I was about to object because I was tired, but he gave me a pleading look. This young boy had me wrapped around his finger, and he knew it. I smiled at his face. How could I say no to that face? I giggled. I'm not cute. I laughed loudly at his objection, and he was soon laughing with me. How could I deny him anything? Yes, time goes on at a steady pace and waits for no one. Not even for me. Calix, once she turned her back on me, I had to restrain my frustration. No one turns their back on me. What did you expect? Did you expect her just to be okay with this? Clayton questioned. I thought about his words, and a sudden feeling weighed down my shoulders. I don't know what I expected. I knew she wouldn't be calm, but I didn't expect this much stubbornness. You may be smart, but you're making a mistake here, Clayton commented bitterly. I'm not sure what this feeling is, but I know it has to do with Ravinia. And I don't like it. This isn't very pleasant. I'm just going to lead her out. I don't care if she doesn't like it. If you try to be harsh, I'll make sure you regret it, Clayton warned. She deserves respect. I mentally rolled my eyes. She can get respect from the pack. Now be quiet. Clayton shut me out after that. I felt irritated, but my shoulders felt heavier. I shook off the feeling and prepared to speak to her again. Hopefully, she won't be so stubborn anymore. I was wrong. Chapter 4. Ravinia, okay, enough moping. I mind-linked the pack to gather in front of the house to meet their Luna. Get up so you can meet them, Calix said after a long moment of silence and me ignoring his existence. We're meeting the pack. Please tell me you look decent. I don't want them thinking their Luna is a slob, Galen whined in my head. I held my head in frustration, wishing I could silence her. I enjoy her company most of the time, but right now she was being difficult. I could not believe how quickly she had forgiven Calix, especially after how coldly he had treated us. I am not going to meet the pack, so get that thought out of your head, I told her. Are you coming? Calix asked in an impatient tone, cutting through my thoughts and annoying me even more. I turned around and faced him, my eyes reflecting my pain. If you think I'm going to do whatever you tell me, then you have a very bad memory. You rejected me, and now you heartlessly take me back. You don't even love me. So, I'm not interested in being your second choice, Luna. He stared at me emotionlessly and then stepped closer. I don't really care, so let's just go. Did he not hear what I just said? This man was starting to push me to my limit. Are you serious right now? I just explained that I don't care about what you want me to do. Just because you reformed the bond doesn't mean you get to boss me around, I growled. But he's our mate, Galen added. That doesn't make everything okay, Galen. Your wolf doesn't seem to mind this situation, Calix added, a slight grin on his lips. First off, stay out of my head. Second, my wolf has a name, and it's Galen. Lastly, she only feels that way because of the bond, I ranted, not pleased that even my wolf wasn't fully on my side. You don't have to be mean about it, Galen sighed. He broke our hearts. He doesn't deserve anything from us. Why have you forgiven him so easily? Because, as a wolf, I feel the bond differently than you do. I believe in second chances. Well, I don't. I turned back to Calix. Leave me alone. Calix stayed quiet for a few seconds before replying, You certainly are vocal when you're angry. Are you serious right now, you imbecile? I stood up, running my hands through my hair. Come on, the pack is waiting. For the last time, I'm not meeting your pack. I don't like you, and you don't like me. I'm not going to do what you say. He sighed in frustration, looking at me with a hard glare. You either come willingly, or I'll carry you out of here. My eyes widened in shock for a moment before I narrowed them. Crossing my arms defiantly, I looked straight into his gray eyes. You wouldn't dare. Calix shrugged nonchalantly as he suddenly scooped me up, placed me over his shoulder, and began to walk out of the room. I was in shock. 1 second, I was on the ground, and the next, I wasn't. I quickly shook myself out of my daze and began to protest. Put me down. I hit his back as hard as I could, but it did not affect him. He replied, No. How can one person be so infuriating? He tightened his hold on my waist, and I just yelled in frustration. I really dislike you. I think he's impressive. Plus, he did give you a choice, Galen commented in a sweet tone. I'm annoyed with you too. After what felt like an eternity, we finally came to a stop. Calix took me off his shoulder and turned me around to face the front door, his arm firmly but gently holding me. I can't believe you did that, I muttered darkly. Well, I gave you a choice and you picked the hard way. So, stop glaring at me, he stated bluntly. He opened the door and walked outside, practically dragging me along. When he halted after a few steps, my eyes nearly bulged out of my head. There were at least 150 pack members. That is a large number, and I felt a wave of anxiety as all their eyes turned toward me. I felt the hairs on my neck rise. I'm not used to so much attention. I'm used to being ignored or judged, but this was different, and it made me extremely uncomfortable. However, being stubborn, I didn't let my true feelings show. Calix cleared his throat loudly, and all the attention fell on him. Calix, pack members. I called out loudly and clearly, making sure everyone could hear me. They all stared in anticipation. It was time they met their new Luna. This is Ravinia Woods, my mate, and your new Luna. The crowd was silent for a few seconds before they burst into applause. Every pack member cheered and clapped, some even howled in delight. I smiled at their enthusiasm and turned my gaze to Ravinia. Her head was slightly bowed, almost in a shy way, but she looked up in surprise when she heard the cheering. They like me. I heard her wander through our link. Why was she so surprised? A pack is always thrilled to meet their Luna. It is a matter of deep-rooted loyalty. I snapped out of my thoughts when she turned her head to glare at me. Where was all this excitement when you first met me? She asked through the mind link, her tone bitter. I rolled my eyes before looking back at her. Don't start with me, Ravinia. Once the pack finished cheering, I continued. All bow in respect to your Luna. Every pack member immediately bowed, and Ravinia looked astonished. Her eyes were wide with wonder. Are you starting to appreciate her? Clayton asked in a teasing tone. I could feel his wolfish grin, and it irritated me. Be quiet. I snapped, shutting him out. I felt a sense of triumph until I realized I hadn't actually denied Clayton's comment. I noticed the pack members were waiting to be excused. You may all rise and be dismissed, I announced. Everyone dispersed, and I saw Ravinia glaring at me again. Her brown eyes were full of anger, but I didn't care about how she felt. I smirked mockingly at her as I stated, now you can't leave. I wanted to see if her resolve would harden. A spirited werewolf is a strong one, and I want my pack to be strong. Maybe you just like how she looks when she's fired up, Clayton interrupted. Absolutely not, I thought. I waited for her reaction, but I was surprised when she mimicked my smirk. Now I have an even better reason to give you a piece of my mind, she replied sweetly, though her words were anything but. My smirk dropped into a scowl, and I let out a low growl, firmly grabbing her hand to lead her to my office. I tried to ignore the sparks that flowed through my hand at the contact. This is going to be a long day. Chapter 5. Calix. We stood outside my office where my parents, my beta, and my delta were waiting. I thought it would be a good idea for Ravinia to meet them personally. Once we were fully inside, I closed the door so no one would disturb us and sat behind my desk. I looked at the group surrounding me. They all watched me for a few seconds before turning their attention to Ravinia. My beta, Briar, had his intense blue eyes trained on her, and my delta, Julianne, followed suit with a calm gaze. However, my parents were the ones most focused on her. I looked just like my father with the same strong features, dark hair, and gray eyes. My mother, on the other hand, has soft features and vibrant, lively eyes. When I noticed that no one was talking, I looked over at Ravinia. Her head was bowed, and she was shifting nervously from one foot to the other. It was a strange sight to see this stubborn girl being so shy. I don't like seeing her uncomfortable, Clayton muttered. I rolled my eyes as Ravinia finally looked up. She seemed more confident, but her brown eyes gave her away. They were full of nerves. Hello. My name is Ravinia, she said in a soft voice. Briar and Julianne bowed to her. Briar was the first to speak. Greetings, Luna. I'm Beta Briar. Greetings, Luna. I'm Delta Julianne. Ravinia smiled at them and they smiled back. I was glad they liked her. It would make things easier. I was about to introduce her to my parents when my father turned to me with a frown. She seems weak, son. I could have found someone much better suited for you. Noah, that is very rude, my mother exclaimed, furious. But Mina, look at her. She lacks strength and... Before my father could finish, he was suddenly pinned against the wall. Ravinia was right in front of him, her eyes shifted to a deep, pitch black. A terrifying growl escaped her lips as she held him there. "What did you say about Ravinia?" Her voice was different now, higher and softer. With the black eyes, it was obvious her wolf had taken full control. My father's face went pale, his eyes reflecting genuine fear. Even though she was several inches shorter than he, she clearly possessed a formidable strength. "Do something before things escalate," Clayton stated worriedly. "Ravinia," I called out calmly, wanting her attention. "I'm Galen," she growled, her anger bubbling over. "Galen, please let go of my father." She looked at me for a few seconds, then back at him. She leaned closer to his face, her eyes boring into his. "You're lucky I value my mate, because you've crossed a line. For the record, Ravinia is a very strong girl with more heart than you'll ever have. Watch what you say, or next time you'll see just how strong she really is." She let go of him and turned her gaze to me. She gave me a sweet smile and walked toward me. To my surprise, she wrapped her arms around my neck, coming very close to my face. "Hey, gorgeous. Sorry you had to see that side of me. I'm usually the calmer one. Can you forgive me for the outburst?" Her eyes were still black, so her wolf was definitely still in control. Ravinia would never talk to me like this, and she certainly wouldn't be apologizing. "How about an apology for the trouble I've caused?" Galen spoke up. She leaned up and kissed me. The gesture sent sparks throughout my body, intense and surprising. My eyes widened at the contact, but it didn't last as she pulled away. I looked at her and noticed her eyes were brown again, filled with shock and anger. She huffed in annoyance, stomped out of the office, and slammed the door shut. "I guess she does have strength." "I like her," my mother blurted out, clapping her hands excitedly, seemingly forgetting her husband was still recovering on the floor. "Ravinia, I can't believe that just happened." The thought ran through my mind as I flopped onto the bed in Calix's room. I grabbed a pillow and hugged it tightly. I couldn't think straight with everything racing through my head. "Galen," I called out, my heart heavy. I felt overwhelmed. The words Calix's father said to me had brought me to a dark place. He said the same thing someone else once said to me a long time ago. Even though years have passed, those words still manage to hurt. "I know, Ravinia. It's okay," Galen spoke softly, trying to calm me. I began to cry as a difficult memory surfaced. "Stop. Please." I cried as a little girl, waiting for the person to stop. "You are worthless," he yelled. He suddenly stopped and grabbed a clump of my hair, pulling me up to face him. I struggled as he glared at me with pure hatred in his eyes. "You want to know what the problem is? You were born." I continued to cry until the memory subsided. Once it did, I felt a strange sense of pride regarding what happened in the office. I had stood up for myself. Galen was the one who took over, but I had allowed her to. I don't think I've ever felt that much of a release before. Just as I calmed down, Calix walked in. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Look, you showed a lot of strength today, which is a good trait for this pack. But do you want to explain that kiss?" he asked. I stared at him, my cheeks heating up. Galen was definitely going to hear about this later. I was about to explain when the door burst open. Briar stood there, his expression urgent. "Alpha, rogues have been detected on our land." Chapter 6. Ravinia, I looked at Briar with thankful eyes. He just saved me from an embarrassing explanation about the kiss, which was actually Galen's doing. But his words made me feel uneasy. What rogues would be foolish enough to set foot on Calix's territory? He is known for being extremely protective of his land. "You came onto his territory, so who is the real idiot?" Galen commented. "I didn't know I was on anyone's territory, so that doesn't count," I retorted. "How many of them are there?" Calix asked, breaking me away from my argument with Galen. "Only 3, Alpha. From what I've been told, they're all in their 20s, they're males, and they appear to be a traveling group since all of them wear matching black leather jackets," Briar informed him. I froze at the description of the 3 trespassing rogues. My heart stopped for a second. No way. It couldn't be them, could it? "Galen, do you really think it might be them?" I whispered to my wolf, worry settling in the pit of my stomach. I don't know, Ray. I really don't know, Galen replied. I abruptly stood up, but I became annoyed when both men, in their shock at my sudden movement, blocked the door. I growled in annoyance. I had no patience for this. Move, I said, not caring about my tone. They were too shocked to move, so I barged past them. Concern was coursing through my body, fueling my energy. Hope resided there as well. Calix and Briar followed me, recruiting Julianne and some male pack members along the way. Once I was outside the pack house, I caught the rogue's sense. It tickled my nose with familiarity, and tears welled up in my eyes at the hope that it might be them. Do you have their scents, Luna? Julianne asked me with a hint of concern. I nodded absent-mindedly as I focused on the scents. One was the smell of pine and a nutty aroma. Another was strong mint. The last one was earthy. All their scents felt incredibly familiar. My stomach tightened even more with hope. I just wanted it to be them, even if it was just one of them. Don't get your hopes up, Ray, Galen cautioned. How could I forget the times we had been disappointed before? It was burned into my memory. But I was going to stay positive. I made a promise to myself to keep moving forward, no matter what life throws my way. I have to. The scents grew stronger, meaning they were close by. I rounded a couple of trees when I finally saw the rogues I had been searching for. Two of them had dark brown hair, one had green eyes and softer features, while the other had sharp brown eyes and rugged features. The third had ginger hair and bright blue eyes. All of them were well-built with a look of mischief in their eyes. There was no doubt in my mind anymore. It was them. Tears flowed down my cheeks as I stared in disbelief and joy. Boys. I called to them, my voice shaking. The three rogues looked back, their mischievous expressions vanishing. Tears started forming in their own eyes. The redhead was the first to speak. Ravinia? Is that really you? I nodded frantically, and all three ran toward me, tackling me in a giant group hug. I cried even more as they held me close, refusing to let me go. You're alive, they cried. I'm alive. I thought you guys were gone, I sobbed, unable to hold back my emotions. Calix, I stared at Ravinia in confusion as the rogues smothered her in a huge hug. I had no idea what was happening. Why are they touching our mate? Clayton growled, and suddenly he took over. Before I could process it, Ravinia was held possessively in my arms. Clayton had her close and let out a protective growl. My mate. What are you doing? I thought we were keeping our distance. I thought angrily at him. She is my mate, so be quiet, Clayton retorted. Ravinia looked up, her eyes filled with tears and a look of astonishment. She was surprised, and I couldn't blame her. I hadn't been affectionate with her yet. Well, it wasn't exactly me doing the touching. Calix, what are you doing? Let go, Ravinia said, but she wasn't even trying to get out of the hold. She is a rogue, Clayton. Why are you acting like this? I asked him. She is more than that, he replied, making me feel frustrated. Why is this guy holding you? The brunette with brown eyes questioned, glaring at me. Sissy? Are they related? They didn't look alike. He's holding you too closely for that matter, the redhead said, glaring even harder. What was their problem? I wasn't even the one holding her. My wolf was to blame. But Clayton made the situation more intense by pulling Ravinia closer, practically cradling her in his arms and growling mine. The three rogues growled back at the closeness, their eyes set in furious glares. This was getting complicated. Chapter 7. Ravinia, I looked between Calix and the rogues. Calix's eyes were black, indicating that his wolf had taken control, which explained his sudden affection. The rogues looked furious, but I didn't blame them. They have always been protective of me. I saw Calix's eyes return to their gray color, and he instantly let go of me. I felt a small pang of loss at the lack of contact, but brushed it off when the rogues growled in anger. Harrison snatched me into his arms, wrapping them protectively around me as they all growled, "Don't touch our sister." I clenched and unclenched my fists in irritation before finally snapping. I broke out of Harrison's hold and gave all three of them a sharp reprimand. They all recoiled while I glared at them in fury. Stop being so overprotective. I can take care of myself. By the way, you're all being reckless. This is pack territory, and if I weren't here, you would be in serious trouble. They all looked at each other with confused expressions. We're in pack territory? Samson asked. They were so oblivious. You did the same thing, Galen whispered. Not right now, Galen. I stared at Samson and sighed. Yes, Samson. You're in pack territory. No need to be so harsh, Ray. Harrison chuckled, making me turn my heated glare toward him. Be quiet, Harrison, I groaned, while he just shook his head. I let my head drop into feet while a muscled arm went around my shoulders, pulling me closer. I looked up to see Thompson. Already irritated by us, Ray? I thought you'd at least last 20 minutes before getting annoyed, seeing as we just reunited. He smirked. I never thought I would be reunited with them. I had believed they were gone. It's good to see you alive, Harrison said warmly as they all enveloped me in another group hug. I smiled slightly as I leaned into them. It felt nice to have them near me again. It reminded me of better times. The boys and I watched France as he chased butterflies in his wolf form. His white fur with patches of brown swayed in all directions while he ran and jumped. For such a young boy, he sure had a lot of energy. France is extra wild today, isn't he? Harrison laughed while France played in the grass, having no intention of actually hurting the butterflies. I just nodded at Harrison's words, noticing the redhead was actually calmer today. But just as I thought that, both he and Thompson picked me up off the ground. I struggled in their hold, but when I realized I wasn't going to get down, I looked over at Samson. Samson, help me. But he just gave me a small smile and shook his head. You're no help. I yelled playfully. The two holding me carefully dropped me onto the solid forest ground. I sat up, glaring at them as they grinned innocently at me. Let's have some fun, Harrison chuckled as he shifted into his wolf form, his fur just as red as his hair. Thompson shifted too, a wolfish grin on his face. His dark blonde fur shone brightly in the sun as he joined France. I rolled my eyes and turned as well. My midnight blue fur was slightly messed up, so I shook it out before trotting over to Samson. I let out a whine, wanting him to join us. Samson smiled at me as he shifted into his brown wolf before sprinting toward the others, while I followed right behind him. It had been a few hours, and we were back in our human forms. France was asleep on my lap, while the others sat close to me. The stars were shining brightly, and the moon was full. It was nights like these that made life feel worth living. Ravinia? Thompson called, making me look over at him. Yes, I'm glad we're all together. Calix, I watched as all of them hugged each other while I made sure my wolf didn't do anything else. I couldn't believe he took control to hold her. Admit it. You felt the bond, he shouted in my mind. I ignored him. I wasn't sure how to answer that. Who are you and what are you doing on my territory? I questioned the rogues. They let go of Ravinia and turned their gazes to me. The redhead smiled mischievously. I'm Harrison. This is Thompson, and that's Samson. They're my friends, so don't hurt them, Ravinia suddenly spoke up, glaring at me. And that's an order, she added, looking at the pack members who had followed us. Briar, Julianne, and the others nodded and bowed in respect. I rolled my eyes but knew I couldn't do much about it. I glared at Ravinia while she glared back. I wasn't impressed by her tone, but she clearly didn't care. Chapter 8. Ravinia the boys, and I made it to a clearing. They all lounged on the ground while I stood and basked in the warmth of the sunlight seeping through the trees. My friends watched me with soft smiles, and I returned the gesture. I have missed this. I miss being able to look into their eyes and not worry about anything else. It was wonderful to see them again, but there was a void. One pair of eyes was missing. France's sweet, forest green eyes weren't there to meet mine. Hey, are you all right? Thompson asked, watching me with concern. I'm fine, just tired, I replied, rubbing my eyes to hide the fact that they were watering. Why not tell them the truth? They're family. They will understand, Galen commented softly. I know they would, but I can't bring myself to talk about France yet. It brings back too much. The memories are still so heavy. I remember being at my lowest point, feeling like the world was crashing down around me. I was in a dark place, physically and emotionally, convinced that the pain in my heart would never fade. I remember a younger France finding me when I was struggling. He was only 8 years old, his eyes full of confusion. I felt a wave of guilt for letting a child see me so broken. I wanted to comfort him, but he was the one who reached out. "I'm sorry," he had cried. He wasn't the cause of my pain, yet he apologized. He gave me a tight hug, not caring about anything other than making sure I was okay. "Don't hurt yourself. Please. I'm sorry." I had held him close then, realizing that even in my darkest moments, I wasn't alone. He had cupped my cheeks and given me a small, sweet kiss on my nose, the same thing I used to do for him to make him feel better. "I love you," he told me. "I love you too," I had whispered back. Standing in the clearing now, I bowed my head as the memory passed. France was so young, yet he had made me feel needed. I felt arms wrap around me and smiled. The boys had all stood up to give me a group hug. They really are the best friends I could ask for. After a while, we walked back to the house. Calix was there, his gray eyes fixed on me. I looked back at him before turning to my friends. "Please come back anytime," I said sincerely. They all agreed in their own ways. Thompson nodded excitedly, Harrison gave a funny little bob of his head, and Samson gave a quiet, steady nod. "I'm going to miss them," Galen sighed. "Me too, but I doubt he wants them staying here long," I replied. "Never," Calix's voice entered my head via the link. I rolled my eyes. Just as the boys were about to head out, Samson stopped. He stared toward the woods. Before I could ask what was wrong, Julian walked out from the trees. Samson's eyes widened, and he bolted toward her. He reached her and, with a confidence I had never seen from him before, he pulled her into a passionate kiss. Julian looked astonished for a split second before she returned the embrace with just as much intensity. They pulled away just enough to speak. "Mate," they both breathed before leaning back in. They headed toward the house, completely focused on each other. I smiled with joy while Harrison and Thompson cheered. Samson had finally found his mate. I looked at Calix, who was grimacing at the situation. I couldn't help but smirk. With Samson finding his mate, he would have to be allowed into the pack. And since Harrison and Thompson were with Samson, they would likely be staying too. "I suppose I have no choice but to make them part of the pack," he muttered through grit teeth. I just smirked, knowing he was right. He seemed frustrated, but I ignored it and turned to the others. "Let me show you where you'll be staying." Calix, once I was in my office, I vented my frustration. I am not a fan of rogues, and now I have 4 of them living under my roof. The situation felt overwhelming. "I don't see why this is such a problem." "They aren't causing trouble," Clayton said. "The rogues aren't the only issue. It's Ravinia." "She's so smug about this," I snapped at Clayton, pacing the room before sitting on the couch. "You're starting to acknowledge her as your mate," Clayton pointed out. I just growled in response. I blocked him out as a knock sounded at the door. A sweet, earthy scent reached me, and I knew exactly who it was. "Come in, Ravinia." She walked in with a smile. It wasn't a taunting or smug look, it was genuine. It was a side of her I hadn't seen much, and it felt surprisingly natural. "Look, I wanted to say thank you," she said, getting straight to the point. I gave her a confused look. "I know you aren't fond of rogues, but this means a lot to the boys, especially Samson. So, thank you." My heart gave a strange flutter as I watched her. It was a pleasant sensation, though I tried to remain composed. She gave a small nod and left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Just when I thought I had her figured out, she surprised me. She is unpredictable. I'm still trying to decide if that's a good thing. Chapter 9. Ravinia 1 week. 1 whole week has passed since I arrived, and I have mixed feelings about it. 2 days ago, the boys and I were officially accepted into the pack, and now everyone is strangely protective of me. It is a major adjustment. As a reminder, I am not used to this kind of attention. To make matters more complicated, Calix is essentially insisting that I share a room with him to maintain the image of being perfect mates. He even expects me to share the same bed. I ensure we stay on our respective sides, as far apart as possible. Galen isn't thrilled with my standoffishness, but she is far too trusting toward him for my liking. Calix is out at the moment for an alpha meeting that I have zero interest in. At least I don't have to see him for a few hours. You mean his handsome face, Galen hummed. Gross, I snapped back. Currently, the boys are out for a run while I am outside looking after the pack pups. The infants are with their mothers, but the older children are with me. We are playing an energetic game of tag, and I'm currently it. They are all laughing as I chase them, and I eventually catch Livy, one of the cutest little girls I have ever seen. I have a significant soft spot for children. I love them, and their smiles always manage to make me smile back. Children seem to take a liking to me as well. Libby giggles as I begin to tickle her. Soon, all the children are tackling me to the ground, and I'm the one being tickled. I laugh loudly as I try to wiggle away. Eventually, we settle down in a circle to play a guessing game. I'm an animal. I'm small and fuzzy, and I love cheese, I said, and immediately, hands shot into the air. A rat, a little boy named Evan yelled. It's a mouse, Rosie countered. They began to debate the difference, and I giggled at their bickering. They are so precious. They turned to me, curious eyes waiting for a verdict. Stephen asked, Ravinia, is it a rat or a mouse? I just shrugged and replied, I forgot. I contained my giggles as they all whined. I didn't want to pick a side and disappoint anyone, so keeping it a mystery kept things fair. It's nap time, little ones, one of the pack mothers called from the house. Will you sing us a song, Ravinia? Libby asked innocently. Please, they all chorused. I nodded, and they cheered, some dragging me by the hand toward the nursery. Once we were there, the little ones settled into their sleeping bags. I sat on a chair, waiting for them to get comfortable. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Harrison walk in and smile. What's going on here? He whispered. Ravinia is going to sing to us, one of the kids answered. Harrison gave a fake gasp of astonishment. Really? That's amazing. Can I stay and listen? The children giggled and nodded. Harrison took a seat nearby, watching with interest. I shook my head at his antics before facing the children. I took a deep breath and began. A gentle breeze from Hushabye Mountain softly blows over Lullaby Bay. It fills the sails of boats that are waiting to sail your worries away. It isn't far to Hushabye Mountain, and your boat waits down by the quay. The winds of night so softly are sighing. Soon they will fly your troubles to sea. I kept my voice soft and gentle. I've been told I have a nice singing voice, and I find it helps calm my own mind too. So close your eyes on Hushabye Mountain. Wave goodbye to cares of the day. And watch your boat from Hushabye Mountain sail far away from Lullaby Bay. By the time I finished, the children were fast asleep. You and children, Harrison whispered so he wouldn't wake them. I swear they're the only things you love more than us. I smiled slightly. My heart has a special place for them. If someone were to hurt me, I would fight back, but if someone broke a child, my reaction would be far more severe. There was one child in particular who stayed close to my heart, but I tried not to think about that now. They're cute, I reply. They're all tucked in, but can you blame them? Your voice is beautiful. I rolled my eyes and playfully slapped his arm, but I froze when another voice came from the doorway. I'll admit, her voice is lovely to hear. I turned to see Calix. His impassive face didn't quite match the compliment, leaving me conflicted. On one hand, it was the nicest thing he had said to me. On the other hand, his blank expression made it hard to tell if he meant it. Why not just accept the compliment? Galen teased. Be quiet, I replied. I made my face just as unreadable as his. A real compliment. Thanks, I guess. Calix squinted at me curiously. Are you blushing? My eyes widened as I felt a faint warmth on my cheeks. No, I scoffed, quickly walking past him as if the question were beneath me. Yes, you are, Galen drawled, enjoying my discomfort. I headed back to our room, wondering why a simple comment from him had me feeling so flustered. Calix, the meeting is finally over. Briar exclaimed, a large grin on his face. I'm just happy to be home. I'm exhausted, I stated as we entered the house. As we walked in, Samson passed us while carrying Julian toward the stairs. They looked perfectly happy together. I bet you and the Luna are just as affectionate in private, Briar teased, nudging me with his elbow. I just forced a smile and nodded. I needed to go for a run. My nerves were fried. This week has been a whirlwind of stress, new arrivals, a stubborn mate, and a lot of tension. I headed toward the back door, but was stopped by a melodic voice. It isn't far to Hushabye Mountain, and your boat waits down by the quay. I was captivated. I walked closer to the room where the sound was coming from. It wasn't one of the pack mothers, and it wasn't Julianne. I love that voice, Clayton stated in my mind. I peeked inside, and my breath hitched. It was Ravinia. She finished the song and started talking to Harrison, but I remained in a state of awe. She has a truly beautiful voice. I'll admit, her voice is lovely to hear, I said aloud. Ravinia turned to look at me, shocked, before quickly masking her expression. She said something sarcastic, but I was distracted by the fact that her cheeks were tinting a slight shade of pink. Are you blushing? I asked. She seemed surprised before scoffing no. She then stomped out of the room. I looked at Harrison, but he just shrugged. Was she actually blushing? It seemed unlikely for someone as proud as Ravinia would, yet I couldn't deny what I saw. Chapter 10. Ravinia. I sighed in annoyance as I found it extremely difficult to fall asleep. It was around 1 in the morning, and Calix was sleeping the night away while I was wide awake. The fact that we were still sharing a bed made it worse. I like this sharing a bed part, Galen chirped in a cheery tone. Be quiet. I'm not in the mood. I heaved out another sigh before getting up and heading downstairs toward the kitchen. The stairs creaked under my feet as I moved slowly, trying my best to stay quiet. Just because I couldn't sleep didn't mean I had to drag others into my misery. I moved across the tiled floors of the kitchen, stopping in front of the stainless steel fridge. I grabbed a bottle of cold water and took a long drink. The liquid made me feel refreshed. Once I was done, I stood in the kitchen in silence. It isn't easy to do anything at night when others are sleeping. But as soon as the silence settled over me, difficult memories came flooding back. It was dark and I was scared. I heard the heavy footsteps of the man who raised me coming toward the basement door, where he had locked me up for 2 days without food or water. The door slammed open. Get out, he bellowed. As soon as I came out, he grabbed my hair and jerked it hard. Never try to escape me again. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. He threw me to the floor and walked off. I lay there on the cold hardwood for a few seconds until I felt soft, gentle hands stroke my bruised cheek. A 10-year-old Franz looked at me with such sadness in his green eyes. I felt so worthless. I was 15 years old and felt like little more than a target for someone else's anger. I was snapped out of my dark thoughts when I saw tears rolling down Franz's cheeks. I'm sorry, Ravinia. I'm so sorry, he cried. I tried to help you. I tried to bring you food yesterday. It was your favorite, but he threw it away. And when I tried to open the door, he couldn't finish, and as I sat up to comfort him, I noticed a deep mark on his cheek. It looked painful. I instantly felt a surge of protective rage. Did he do that to you? Did he hurt you? I asked through gritted teeth. I was about to leave the kitchen when a rustle outside caught my attention. It was strange because animals stay far away from werewolves, and no trees were planted right next to the house. I took a cautious look outside from the kitchen window, and my eyes widened. Men were surrounding the house carrying weaponry, handguns and knives, but what concerned me most was the scent. I smelled silver and heavy doses of wolfsbane. Hunters. I felt along the walls until I found the alarm button. I didn't hesitate. I pressed it, and a blaring noise sounded throughout the house. I rushed toward the stairs where everyone was gathering. Once the pack was alert, Calix began to speak. Who sounded the alarm? It was me, I spoke up. There are hunters outside surrounding the house. Calix nodded in understanding. Men, follow me outside. Julianne, take the women, children, and Luna to the safe room. Julianne led the way while she and I rounded up everyone. As Julianne reached the entrance, she turned to me. Come along, Luna. Get inside. No, you go in and keep them calm. I'll stay out here and guard the room. If any hunters make it inside, they will look for the safe room first. It is my job to protect the pack. Please keep them safe. Julianne wanted to protest, but she followed my lead. With a heavy sigh, she entered the safe room and locked the door. "You are being very brave," Galen stated worriedly. "I have to be," I replied. As I stood guard, 2 hunters appeared from around the corner. One smirked arrogantly. "Only one guard? This will be easy." "Don't be so sure," I countered. He charged at me with a knife. I dodged the first blow, but the second caught me in the shoulder. It burned like fire. Silver. I gasped in pain but quickly regained my footing, using the momentum to defend myself. The struggle was short and desperate. He fell to the floor, and I realized I had no choice but to stop him permanently to save the people behind the door. His partner froze in shock. "You killed him." He was trying to kill me and everyone in this room. He glared at me and fired his weapon, the bullet hitting my knee. I let out a scream before falling. The silver coating made the pain unbearable. The hunter walked closer and pointed his gun at my head. "Ready?" I glared at him, picking up the fallen knife and forcing myself to stand despite the agony. "No." I lunged at him. As I did, another bullet caught my arm, but I managed to stop him before he could fire again. His lifeless body fell, and I winced in agony before sliding down the wall. I managed to sit up, leaning against the cold surface. My body was in pain and I felt weak, but I couldn't rest until I knew the pack was safe. I removed the bullet from my arm, though I didn't dare touch the one in my knee. Footsteps alerted me, and I picked up the discarded gun, pointing it forward. I was relieved to see the male pack members, and I lowered the weapon as Calix rushed toward me. "Calix," I was utterly shocked when I saw Ravinia. She was covered in blood, her expression holding nothing but pain. I rushed toward her. "What happened?" I asked, my voice full of concern. "The hunters, they fought back. I've been shot and stabbed." "There is still a bullet in my knee," she panted, the pain obvious in her voice. She had fought for my pack and endured so much to protect them. She was incredibly brave. I immediately picked her up and rushed toward the medical wing. She looked up at me, and I was momentarily mesmerized by the strength in her gaze even now. "Don't worry, I've got you," I murmured. I began to panic when her eyes closed, and she passed out in my arms. I found myself running faster. She had become dreadfully pale, and her breathing was shallow. "Please stay with me, Ravinia." Chapter 11. Calix. It is now 9 a.m., and I am headed toward the medical wing of the house. Ravinia has been there all night because of her injuries. I had feared the worst when I heard that wolf's bane was found in her wound, which is what caused her to pass out. Luckily, they gave her a treatment that neutralizes the effects of the toxin so her body can properly heal and flush it out of her system. "Were you worried about her?" Clayton pointed out. "Of course I'm worried. I don't want to go through the trouble of finding another Luna." "One is enough," I said, venting my frustrations. "You really are difficult sometimes," Clayton muttered. I shut him out and continued toward the clinic. I was halted in my tracks by my father. His eyes held a look of sympathy as he spoke. "I heard about Ravinia. It must be difficult knowing she's in a hospital bed and you couldn't see her until this morning." "Not really. I actually enjoyed the quiet without having to deal with her for a few hours." "Yes, it was tough, but I can see her now," I told my father, choosing to say what he expected rather than the truth. He nodded before looking at my hands and frowning. "Where are the flowers for her?" I raised an eyebrow in confusion. Why would I bring her flowers? My father looked at me as if I were being remarkably dense. And here I was thinking I raised a smart man. He sighed in frustration. "Son, let me tell you something I've learned about your mother. Every woman needs to know that the person she values still cares for her." I stared at him. "I'm not following." He groaned before leading me to the garden and ordering me to pick the most beautiful flowers I could find while he explained his point. "Before you were born, your mother and I went on a date for our first anniversary. She unknowingly ate something she was allergic to and ended up in the hospital. Back then, she was very sensitive about her looks and she felt terrible. To make her feel better, I did what I always." Chapter 12. Ravinia. I was in complete shock when Calix had those flowers in his hands. I was in even more shock when he said they were for me. As I gently stroked the petals, "I am surprised to see they are real." Not my imagination. Not plastic or paper. Real flowers, just for me. I smile at the thought. Even though his father told him to give them to me, and it wasn't his idea, I am still happy. I haven't received flowers in such a long time. I almost forgot what it feels like to receive them. I cried as the man who raised me struck me and walked out of the house in anger. He was going out to drink, and when he returned, I knew there would be more pain. I cried softly, looking up at the ceiling. Can you see me, Mom? I want to stay strong for you, but it's so hard. I don't know what to do anymore. I ran toward my room in frustration and locked myself in the bathroom. 6-year-old France was playing outside, so I wouldn't be bothered. I looked for a release from the emotional weight I was carrying, desperate for the pain in my heart to go away, even if just for a few hours. I wanted peace. After a while, I cleaned myself up and headed outside to check on France. He was playing so carefreely, as if there were nothing wrong with the world. Sometimes I envied how oblivious he was to how cruel life could be. This world can feel like a dark, empty hole where people suffer while others refuse to see the pain. I worried that France would never see my struggle. I feared I would never find happiness. Suddenly, France raced toward me, a clump of tiny white and purple flowers fisted in his small hand. My eyebrows scrunched in curiosity. Ravinia, I picked some flowers for you, he squealed in excitement. My eyes widened in surprise as he stopped in front of me and lifted his hand. I just stared at his smiling face and bright green eyes in shock before looking at the messy clump of flowers in his grasp. Why did you pick flowers for me? I asked, not used to being given a gift. I saw that you were sad. He's mean. I hope the flowers make you feel better, he responded with complete innocence. I froze in place and tears blurred my vision. He was so young, but he understood I was hurting. He cared about me. I smiled in a crooked way as I took the flowers and smelled them. They had no scent, but they smelled sweet to me. Thank you, France. He gave me a giant grin, and for the first time, my heart swelled with hope. France gave me hope. From that moment on, he was the most important thing in my life. I would live every day to see his happy face, hoping that maybe someday I would have a real smile just like his. I look away from my beautiful flowers and look up at Calix. He has an unreadable expression, as always. But I find myself smiling at it instead of getting annoyed like I usually do. Thank you, I say, my smile growing as I hold the flowers closer to me. He nods before walking out of the medical wing. I would have liked it if more had been said, but right now I will take what I can get. Just then, the door opens again, and Harrison, Samson, and Thompson practically strut into my room. Hey, Rere. We came to check up on you, Thompson grins, but pauses when he sees the flowers. All the boys freeze as they stare at them. Who gave you flowers? Harrison questions, confused. Calix, I answer with a smile. I see them all grin, but I stop them before they can get the wrong idea. Don't get your hopes up. His father told him to give them to me. They frown in disappointment while I giggle at their expressions. They're such dorks. Although I begin and their ears perk up as they stare intently at me, it's nice to have received flowers. I don't care that his father suggested it. Just the fact that someone gave me flowers after such a long time really means a lot to me. They stare at me in confusion before Thompson and Harrison grin. Don't get all soft on us, Ray, Thompson teases, and I roll my eyes at him. Don't tell us you started developing feelings for him, Harrison chuckles, but he stops when I don't give a disgusted reply. I stroke the petals of the flowers while I think about what he said. I still find him difficult, but I wouldn't say I hate him at this moment. By the way, if you are wondering why Galen hasn't interrupted yet, it is because the treatment they gave me for the wolfsbane helps my wolf concentrate on healing my body. She is in a meditation-like state until I am fully healed. It's a bit of peace for once, but I would prefer her to be awake so she can help me sort out what I'm feeling. I shouldn't have feelings for Calix. I shrug nonchalantly and let out a huff, which seems to satisfy the trio. Even so, my cheeks burn slightly, and one question is still on my mind. Do I actually like him? Chapter 13. Calix. As I walk out of the medical wing, All I can think about is how Ravinia thanked me, and all I did was nod. I know I have had a strong dislike for her and viewed her as a tool for the pack, but that was not how I wanted to act. I wanted to thank her. She defended my pack when she had no obligation to do so. She protected everyone. You are being quite cold, Clayton commented. Okay, what would you have me do to thank her properly? I questioned. I can think of a few things, but you probably wouldn't listen to me, he replied. I blocked him out as I walked into my office and took a seat. I leaned my head on my hand and sat in silence. How do I properly thank Ravinia? Ravinia, after 2 days, I finally left the medical wing. It feels good to move around and not be restricted to bed rest. Calix has been a bit different toward me lately. It is calmer between us now. Ravinia, where are you? Calix yelled. But maybe not today. You see, Calix wants to mark me in front of the entire pack. We may be on slightly better terms, but I still haven't forgotten how he treated me originally. That rejection still stings. I want to find some happiness. Ravinia. Calix called again, sounding closer to the closet under the stairs where I was hiding. You're being stubborn, Galen remarked. I rolled my eyes as I shifted into a more comfortable position. However, I lost my balance and made a loud noise. The closet door swung open, and Calix stood before me. Found you, he smirked, grabbing my arm and pulling me out. Let go. I don't want to do this. I said, frustrated. Give it up, Ravinia. It's happening. I realized he was right, so I stopped struggling for the moment. We went outside, and he set me down while the pack watched with anticipation. He turned me toward him and moved the sleeve of my top down to expose my shoulder. Ready? He asked, a slight smirk on his lips. I glared at him. I told you I wasn't interested. He stepped closer, his lips near my shoulder. If you do this, you'll regret it, I warned, though he looked at me with mischief in his eyes. I'll take my chances. And just like that, he claimed the bond. I winced at first, but a sudden sensation took over my body. It started in my chest and spread to my toes. It was intense and beautiful, heightening my senses. I had no idea what was happening, but it must have been the bond. I actually didn't hate the feeling. Wait, I shouldn't like this. What is wrong with me? My breathing picked up, and he finally stepped back. My neck held a dull ache. I looked into his gray eyes and saw something that looked almost like adoration, but it vanished so quickly that I doubted I saw it at all. He smirked playfully. Now you are truly the Luna. I glared at him, his words hurting more than the mark. I felt like I would never be a real Luna to him. I reached out and gave him a sharp kick to the shin, making him wince. I warned you, I said, stomping away in a rage while the pack watched in silent shock. I stared at the mark in the mirror, the dark swirls looking almost like a mesmerizing tattoo. It was beautiful, but it hurt to know the person who gave it to me didn't care for me the way a mate should. What is the problem? I thought we were past this, Galen asked, her tone a mix of anger and worry. My lip trembled. Galen knows me so well. I've always cared about what he thinks of me. I think I have feelings for him, Galen. Silence followed my confession. This was the first time Galen had gone quiet because of my words. The silence soon ended as she sighed. Finally. I thought you'd never admit it. Be quiet, Galen. You don't get it. He's my mate, but he doesn't feel the same way. Just then, Calix's mother entered the room with a concerned look. Are you okay? She asked softly. I stopped myself. She didn't know the truth about our arrangement. I had every right to tell her, but for some reason I couldn't. So, I decided to simplify things. I just feel like Calix doesn't really care for me. My heart ached as I said it. It hurt a lot. But he just told me to let you know that he's taking you out on a date tomorrow night. My heart almost stopped. A date? Really? I asked. Yes. He's busy with pack business right now, so he asked me to tell you. I felt a spark of hope. It was nice to feel that again. It meant I still had a heart that could be reached. So, can I tell him you said yes? His mother asked. Yes. You can tell him that. She smiled and waved before cheerfully exiting the room. I was left alone in the silence with hope blooming in my chest. Now, I have one problem. What am I going to wear? Chapter 14. Ravinia, my palms were sweating as I stared at Calix over my menu. He was focused on the specials, seemingly unaware of my nerves. I could hardly believe we were actually sitting in a restaurant on a date. I might have imagined his mother's words, but here we are. He looked handsome in his black denim jacket and dark blue shirt. The scent of his cologne was familiar and pleasant. I had put a lot of effort into my appearance tonight as well, wearing a white leather jacket, a black tank top, and a black leather skirt. Yes, I was actually wearing a skirt. I wanted to look my best, so I even curled my hair and applied a little mascara and red lipstick. I usually find the texture of makeup a bit much, and wearing a skirt was a major departure for me. Harrison almost fainted when he saw me, though he was just being dramatic. Despite my reservations, for the first time in my life, I wanted to feel not just confident, but pretty. However, my plans were not exactly working out since Calix hadn't said a single word to me since we arrived. I knew I had to get the conversation moving. "I don't believe I know your wolf's name," I stated, finally catching his eye. "His name is Clayton." Just as I was about to ask another question, the waiter arrived. "I'll have a bacon burger," I ordered. "I'll have the double cheese and mushroom burger, please," Calix said. The waiter left, leaving us in silence again. I gave Calix a playful, questioning look. "What?" he asked. "A double cheese and mushroom burger? You must be starving," I teased with a grin. He rolled his eyes. I was busy with pack business all day and only had a piece of toast for breakfast, so I'm very hungry. I chuckled and saw a slight smile grace his lips. It looked natural on him. I liked it. "I've never seen you smile before," I noted. "It's a rare sight, so enjoy it while it lasts," he joked. At least, I think it was a joke. I took a sip of my vanilla milkshake. It was delicious. Suddenly, I noticed Calix was frowning. He had been smiling just a moment ago. I felt a pang of worry. Did I say something wrong? I hate the idea of making people unhappy. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I wish I'd ordered a milkshake." "Yours looks great," Calix admitted. The weight on my heart vanished, and I giggled with relief. I was so glad I wasn't the reason for his mood shift. "Here, have a sip," I offered. He took a sip, and his eyes widened in surprise. Now I really wish I'd ordered one. "This is excellent." We both laughed, and soon the waiter returned with our food and a second milkshake for Calix. We spent the next hour and a half talking. We covered everything and nothing at all. It was perfect. He was charming and funny, which came as a surprise. It was becoming one of the best nights I'd had in a long time. After we finished, we decided to take the scenic route back through the forest. The crescent moon provided a soft glow over the trees, and the sounds of nature were peaceful. The sky was clear, and the stars were breathtaking. "I want to show you something," Calix said suddenly. He took my hand, and the sparks from the contact sent a sweet tingle through my body. I couldn't help but smile. I noticed Calix shiver slightly, and my smile widened. He felt the sparks, too. I wondered if he was finally starting to accept our bond. He stopped at the bank of a stunning lake where the moonlight made the water glow. Wildflowers and blossoming willow trees surrounded us in shades of blue and purple. It looked like a scene from a dream. "Gorgeous, isn't it?" he commented. I nodded, mesmerized. I had never seen anything so beautiful. In the past, I was surrounded by dense pines, and even during my time as a rogue, I'd never stumbled upon a place like this. It felt wonderful. I looked over at Calix, and my heart fluttered as he moved closer. He stopped just an inch away. We both leaned in, our eyes meeting. I held my breath in anticipation. Just as we were about to kiss, a beeping noise came from his watch. He pulled away to turn off the alarm and let out a sigh of relief. Finally, the date's over. Now the pack can stop bugging me about taking you out. The happiness I felt evaporated instantly. The sparks died and my hope felt crushed. "So, you only took me out because the pack was pressuring you?" I asked. My voice was steady, but I was struggling to hide the hurt. "Yes," he replied. I felt a surge of anger. Without thinking, I pushed him as hard as I could. He stumbled back and fell into the lake with a loud splash. He looked up at me in shock, drenched and shivering. I glared at him before turning and stomping away. Tears streamed down my face, ruining the makeup I had worked so hard on. He hurt me again. He disregarded my feelings so easily, and I felt foolish for letting my guard down. I couldn't believe I had tried so hard to look nice for him. Chapter 15. Calix, I walked back home, my clothes drenched and a chill running through my body. I was angry, cold, and wet. As the pack house came into view, all I wanted to do was sleep. I walked upstairs toward my room, but I found that Ravinia was not there. Groaning, I immediately mind-linked Briar. "Where's Ravinia?" It took him a moment to respond, his voice sounding raspy. "She returned, but she's with her friends, the two without mates. She said she was spending the night with them." What happened? My blood boiled, but I told him it was our business and stormed toward the room where I knew she would be. I could not believe the nerve of this woman. "She is your mate, and you treated her terribly." Clayton's tone was angry. I knew he was losing his patience. My thoughts were confirmed when he suddenly took control. He began to force my body against the wall, at first just a stumble, but soon the movements became more violent. "Clayton, stop. What are you doing?" I shouted internally as the self-inflicted pain continued. "I'm going to make you understand the pain she feels. Her wolf is heartbroken, and so is she. You hurt the person you are supposed to care for with every fiber of your being." His rage seemed never-ending as he forced me against the wall over and over until my ribs were bruised. After nearly half an hour, Clayton allowed me to regain control. The full extent of the pain hit me like a truck. I collapsed to the floor in agony, feeling as though I had just come from a battlefield. I waited for my body to begin healing before I managed to stand. I made my way to the room Ravinia was in and quietly opened the door. I was shocked by what I saw. Her friends, Harrison, Thompson, and even Samson, were lying on the large king-sized bed with Ravinia safe between them. They all had their arms wrapped around her while she lay near Samson. The most striking thing was the tear stains on her cheeks, highlighted by the moonlight. She had been crying. "Because of you," Clayton snapped. I blocked him out, staring at how peaceful she looked. She had never looked that way around me, but then again, I had never given her a reason to be at peace. I sighed as I walked over and gently tried to pick her up. As I moved toward her, she whimpered, and her friends immediately woke up. Their arms tightened around her, and their worried gazes turned into fierce glares the moment they saw me. "Get out," Harrison whispered harshly, his eyes full of hatred. I was surprised to see such a scary side to him. "You've done enough. You hurt her. We aren't letting you near her," Thompson added, his tone sharp. "Leave," Samson said firmly. I had no choice but to comply. I stood outside the door for a moment and heard a sudden sound that was more painful than the physical struggle earlier. Ravinia woke up, crying out in fear. "Ray, what's wrong?" one of her friends asked. "France. Where is France?" she sobbed. "Who is France?" "Please calm down." "France isn't here," they whispered. She went silent for a second before she started crying again, sounding completely heartbroken. No. I felt a pang of discomfort at the sound. I hated it. Like anything that involved having feelings for her, I walked away. I couldn't afford to let my guard down, not after Liliana. I watched my sister dance around her room. It was an old movie, but she insisted it was a classic. "You look ridiculous," I announced, making her jump in surprise. She glared at me, her eyes matching mine. "You look ridiculous every day." "Ouch," I joked, rolling my eyes. "I hope when you find your mate, she puts you in your place for being such a smart aleck." "Liliana, I hope your mate has a lot of patience." We stared at each other before laughing. It was all in good fun. "Speaking of mates," Liliana added, fiddling with her fingers. "I think I might have found mine." I felt a presence in the woods. I'm worried he might be a rogue. Back then, I didn't harbor such bitterness. Seeing her worry made me feel for her. "This is your mate, Lil. Go look for him." "Really?" I nodded, and a smile spread across her face as she thanked me and raced out of the house. I wished her luck, hoping she would find happiness. I couldn't wait to meet my own mate. I was a fool back then to feel so eager. It didn't matter if Ravinia was here or not. In the end, I felt alone. Ravinia may be my mate, but from the minute we met, there has been nothing but tension. Ravinia. I allowed my eyes to open as the sunlight hit the room. I hissed and turned away from the window. Harrison, Thompson, and Samson were still with me, and I smiled slightly, grateful to have them back in my life. That smile faltered when I remembered who was missing. I smiled as 10-year-old France ran through the forest, a beautiful expression on his face. I had missed that. Living in our old house didn't allow for much happiness, but that was over now. Ray, the forest is so beautiful. Are we really staying here? France asked, his smile wide. We're free now, France. It's time we started living, I said, my heart full of joy. Finally, our lives could really begin. Tears formed in my eyes as I leaned against Samson. My movement woke the boys, and they immediately gave me a comforting group hug. Galen stirred in my head, feeling the sorrow as well. I lost France, and my mate doesn't care. Why do the people I love leave? They gave me pained looks as I huddled closer to them, knowing they were the only people I had left. Along with Galen, they were the only ones I could truly trust. Chapter 16. Calix. I just returned from a run and saw the pack of children outside. Thompson and Ravinia were playing with them, laughing and having a good time, something Ravinia no longer does around me. Maybe I need to get through to you again. Clayton spat out angrily. I ignored him as I headed inside, trying to overlook the glare Ravinia sent my way. It has been like this for nearly a week. She won't talk to me. She won't even look at me unless it is to express her frustration. Clayton has completely shut me out, and when he does decide to speak, it's usually to tell me exactly what he thinks of my behavior. I shook away my thoughts and grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. When I closed the door and turned around, Ravinia was standing in the doorway, her eyes fixed on me. I tried to ignore her as I took a seat at the island, but she didn't give up. She sat across from me, her gaze steady and intense. What? I asked, finally losing my patience. She slammed her hands onto the table and stood up, her anger practically radiating off her. What? What do you mean by what? You've been in a terrible mood for days, and I want to know what the problem is. I stood up as well, matching her energy. The problem is that you took me on a date just to satisfy your pack. It is incredibly disrespectful to do that to someone. Give me a break. Why do you even care? She went silent for a moment, just standing there. I thought the argument was over until she let out a humorless laugh. You know, during that date, I thought you had changed. I thought you were warming up to me, but I was wrong. You're just like every other arrogant alpha. People like you think rogues are nothing but untrustworthy outsiders. You wouldn't care if we were suffering, and you wouldn't hesitate to take away everything we care about just because of what we are, whether we're innocent or not. I just gave her a blank stare. I wasn't sure how to respond. Ravinia watched me, waiting for a reaction, but I didn't know what to do. When I stayed silent, she shook her head in disbelief. You're such a jerk, she whispered. With that, she ran out of the kitchen. I stayed where I was, clenching my fists. She was hurting. That speech proved there was more to her history than she was letting on. Even her last comment sounded more heartbroken than angry, as if there was something she wanted me to understand. I debated whether to go after her. Doing so meant I had to confront my own feelings. But if I didn't, where would she go in that state? Ravinia, I cried as I ran, my legs taking me wherever they could. My chest felt heavy with every memory that surfaced, hitting me one after another. I shielded 10-year-old France as rogues attacked us. I was in pain, my vision blurring, but I refused to give in. If I lost consciousness, they would hurt France. We had only been rogues for a few weeks, and now we were under attack. I didn't want us to lose everything when we had only just started truly living. Help! I screamed. I almost lost hope until 3 other rogues suddenly appeared. To my relief, they began to drive the attackers away. My body gave out, and I collapsed. The view of the sky was soon blocked by a guy with red hair and a panicking France. Stay with me. France pleaded, his hands clutching my arms. Yeah, stay with us. You're going to be okay, the redhead said softly. I smiled as I saw two more guys with brown hair appear. They began to carry me, and I finally relaxed, knowing France and I were safe. No more. I screamed as my legs gave out. I collapsed onto the ground, weeping into the dirt. I didn't attempt to get up. I just lay there with my cheek touching the earth. If only I could forget. The man who raised me slammed the door as he walked out, leaving my mother and me on the floor. I was only 4 years old, but I knew this wasn't right. My mother managed to crawl over to me, tears in her eyes. "I'm scared, Mommy. I don't want to be here," I whimpered. She took me into her arms and leaned against the wall, swaying me back and forth. Even though she was in pain, she held me carefully. "I'm so sorry, my little star. I wish we could leave and find a better life, but I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to protect you." Mommy began to cry, her body shaking. It broke my heart. She was my only source of hope. I hugged her tightly, telling her it wasn't her fault. "Just go, Mommy. Then you can be happy," I cried. "No, I will never leave you. You are my little star, and I could never be happy without you." I sobbed as I clung to her dress. Soon, she smiled softly, stroked my hair, and began to sing a song about a man who treated a woman with kindness and respect, someone who won her over despite herself. She sang about falling head over heels for someone who loved her for exactly who she was. I hoped and prayed that the moon goddess would one day give me a mate just like that. I was so foolish, I said aloud. How could I ever believe my mate would be perfect when my life had been so difficult? Why did I think Calix would change? I finally sat up and realized where I was. I had ended up back at the lake. I wanted to cry more, but I heard soft footsteps behind me. I thought it might be one of the boys, but then I caught a familiar scent, cologne and earth. I turned around to see Calix standing right there. Neither of us said a word. We only stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. Chapter 17. Ravinia, my eyes are raw and sore as I trudge weakly back to the house with Calix walking in front of me. We had decided to walk back together in silence. I don't know why I was walking with him, but I didn't question it. All the memories have stopped flooding my mind, but the damage they left remains. I sometimes wish I could forget everything like one of my drunken blackouts. Instead of forgetting one night, I'd forget everything. I would ignore the pain, the past that made my life difficult, and I would even forget France. Tears begin to flow down my cheeks, and I scold myself for thinking such things. How could I wish to forget about the two people who made my existence bearable? That wasn't fair, especially when they aren't here anymore. I wipe away my tears quickly when I notice Calix turning his head. He stares at me over his shoulder with some emotion swirling in his eyes. I can't tell what it is, and I don't get the chance to figure it out. Just as he opens his mouth to speak, he shuts it quickly and turns away from me. For some reason, I am angered by this. As the house comes into view, I notice some pack members are gathered outside, training in a designated circle. Calix is quick to join them to give guidance. My blood boils at the sight of him hurrying to get away from me, and the urge to let my frustration out begins to overflow. Calix turns at the mention of his name. Using my werewolf speed, I run as fast as the wind until I am standing a mere 10 inches apart from him. I glare at him as he gives me a blank stare, as if nothing had happened. This truly angers me. I bet he came to fetch me because the pack had seen me run, and he didn't want to look suspicious. Since he is training, I think now is a good time to release my energy. "I want to spar with you," I practically growl, my gaze fierce. Everyone stares at us with astonishment, waiting for what will happen next. He gives me a confused look, but as the alpha, he can't refuse a sparring request from someone in his pack, and that includes his mate. "Fine, get in position," he sighs, annoyance heavy in his tone. We both stand inside the circle while spectators gather around to watch. I throw off my leather jacket and toss it to the side before taking a defensive stance. The point of a spar is to test a wolf's combat skills and their ability to think on their feet. To win, one wolf has to get the other out of the circle. Simple, right? Well, this can't be considered a normal fight with the tension flowing between us. Sparring is meant to be a test of strength, but none of that friendliness is present here. I'm not going to take it easy on you, Ravinia. We both know what this is for, Calix says as he takes his own position. We both intended to release our frustration. Just fight me, Calix, I spit out, my anger reaching its boiling point. Before I can even process what is happening, he strikes. Lunging forward, he tries to tackle me, but I quickly move to the side at the last second and swing my leg toward him. He falls to the ground, and gasps are heard all around us. I take this as my moment to pounce. But before I can reach him, he turns and uses his legs to push me away. The wind is knocked out of me, but I don't let that take me down. I land with one foot and one knee on the ground, skidding near the edge of the circle. You're good, but I'm going to win. I look up and glare at him with more rage than ever before. I run up unexpectedly and grip his shoulders, striking toward his midsection. He coughs as I make contact, but it doesn't deter him. He grabs me and flips me over. I land on my back, pain erupting up my spine as he goes to grab me. My leg swings out, hitting him, and he stumbles to the side. I jump up and prepare to lunge when he moves out of the way. I wait as he moves to strike. I go to block it, but he suddenly ducks and tackles me to the ground. He stands above me, a triumphant smirk on his face. What now? That's when I finally lose my grip. I can't stand you. I scream as I jump up, catching him off guard. He groans and steps back. I instantly throw myself on him, knocking us both to the ground and beginning to strike at him wildly. I'm so tired of this. First, you ruin our date, then you act like it never happened. When I tried to talk to you this morning, you did nothing. You act like I'm nothing more than something you stepped in that you need to wipe off your shoe. I don't understand why you treat me so poorly. Suddenly, he pushes me off of him. Just as I get up to attack again, he strikes me across the face, and I fall back out of the circle. Everything goes quiet as I hold my stinging cheek in disbelief. I know we were sparring, but that strike felt personal. It had all his resentment for me. His cold gaze proved it. Let's just get one thing straight, Ravinia. He mind-links me, his tone spiteful. You are just a tool for me to use for this pack. You aren't my mate. You're just a rogue I have to tolerate. My eyes widen, and I can feel the tears welling up again. How could one person hurt me so much with just a few words? Rage finally overtakes my sorrow. I stand up and launch my fist straight into his face, a satisfying sound resonating around us. I can't stand you. With that, I run off toward the only people I can trust. I need Harrison's humor. I need Thompson's energy. I need Sampson's calm. I need my family. I look back for just a second and see his emotionless eyes staring at me as if nothing happened. Not even a reaction? I run inside the house, my heart feeling heavy in my chest. Tears sting my eyes, and I can't handle this pain. He is absolutely horrible. Chapter 18. Calix's face held so much sadness that I couldn't find the words to describe it. I am sure she lost all hope in me after that day. I pushed her away, and now she has finally reached her limit. She has completely stopped talking to me. She no longer looks at me, not even to glare. When she sees me coming, she immediately turns around and avoids me. We don't even share a room anymore. I sleep alone while she stays with her friends. The tension between us is so thick you could cut through it with a knife. This has been going on for a few weeks now, and even Clayton has given up on me. He has completely blocked me out. The only time I feel his presence is when I catch a glimpse of Ravinia before she retreats. Then I can feel him stir, yearning for her. But that won't happen, not with her. I thought this uncomfortable atmosphere would go on forever until a single moment changed everything. That moment happened tonight. I was in my office, preparing to finish my work for the night, when a pack member named William walked in. Alpha, he asked, his tone hesitant. What is it? I asked, waiting. I know you and the Luna aren't on good terms, but she is at the bar and no one can make her stop. My eyes widened in frustration. How long has this been going on? Almost an hour. We tried to convince her to stop herself first. Have you tried her friends? They all went with the Delta and several warriors to help train a neighboring pack a few days ago. They won't be back until the day after tomorrow. I sighed and followed William to the bar. Sure enough, there she was, finishing a bottle. She was swaying on the stool as people tried to get her to put the drink down. "Please stop, Luna. This isn't a good idea," a pack member pleaded. Ravinia gently pushed him away, shaking her head. "No," she whined, like a child refusing to go to bed. I rolled my eyes and was about to force her to leave when a voice sounded in my head. It was Clayton. "Please, help her." I stopped and looked at her. Seeing her trying to drown whatever she was feeling was not how I wanted to see her. Ravinia has always been so fierce. To see her like this was upsetting. "Calix, please, for once, be the person she needs." I sat down next to her. She slowly looked over, her eyes clouded. I would have found it annoying if it weren't for the mix of emotions in her gaze. It made my heart stir. Something told me this wasn't going to end well. She smiled as she faced me. "Hey there, Grizzly Bear," she slurred, giggling at the nickname. I looked at the empty bottles next to her. One had been vodka, the other's rum. "How much have you had, Ravinia?" I asked calmly. She looked at the bottles, then at the one in her hand, then toward the back of the bar, where I saw shattered glass. I guess she had accidentally bumped something over. 5, I think. "No, wait, 7. She gave me an innocent smile as if that were normal. Knowing her past, it probably was. "Why are you doing this?" She smiled again and took another drink. When she let her head drop, her black hair fell over her face like a veil. She looked beautiful in that moment, and I almost lost my resolve to keep my distance. "I'll tell you why if you tell me why you've been so cold to me," she chuckled. Her words didn't sound angry, even though I knew she had every right to be furious. I decided to tell her. She likely wouldn't remember this anyway. I dismissed the other pack members, then turned to her. I had a sister whose mate was a rogue. She left with him, and a few weeks later, we found out he and his group had harmed her. They tried to use her, and when she refused, they took her life. After that, I couldn't stand rogues. When I looked over, Ravinia had tears rolling down her cheeks. Her eyes held a deep sorrow. I couldn't understand why she was crying for my pain when I was the cause of hers. "You lost someone important, too?" "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "What do you mean by too?" She suddenly smiled, her tears seeming to vanish as she took another drink. "You wanted to know why I'm here, so I'll tell you. Today is a special day. 9 years ago, I was finally able to start a new life. Why is that? To make you understand, I have to tell you the whole story." She stopped for a second to make sure no one else was listening. Then, she revealed something that would change everything. "I was born into a very bad situation," she said, a sad smile still on her face. Chapter 19. Calix, I am in complete shock at what has just come out of her mouth. In all my life, I never would have thought I would hear those words from this stubborn and determined woman. I don't even know how to feel. The drunken smile on her face doesn't help with the emotions I'm trying to figure out. "Excuse me," I stuttered, making sure I heard her correctly. "I was born into a very dark situation," she repeated as if it were nothing. I still can't believe her words, but it seems I don't have time to process them before she continues. "My mother was a Huma, and my father was a ruthless warrior of his pack. He claimed to love her because she was his mate, but he only valued her for what she could provide him. She didn't want to be with him, so he forced her into a life she never wanted." Her story had me focused. Every detail left a sour taste in my mouth. He wanted a son but was outraged when my mother had me instead. As far back as I can remember, he treated us both mercilessly. My mother was my only hope for a better future, and she loved me despite everything. I could endure anything as long as I had her. Ravinia unexpectedly turned her head toward me. Her smile was small now, no longer filled with intoxication, but with longing and melancholy. "What happened to your mother?" I hesitantly asked. "He took her from me." Every word felt like a bad dream. She had refused to bring another child into that life, because she was afraid he would hurt them too. He lost his temper and killed her. All I remember from that day was screaming for her while he punished me for my tears. Her face held so much sorrow, but that sad smile remained like a scar. When I turned 5, he had a son with someone else. She disappeared a year later, but my half-brother stayed. I remember being envious at first because that baby received all the care I was denied, while I only received his anger. What was your brother's name? Her smile widened as she took a sip from her bottle. France. He became my whole world. He gave me hope again, and I cherished him. I was still treated poorly every single day, but France made everything bearable. He was the reason I chose to keep going. I always believed our father would never lay a hand on his precious son, but I was wrong. In a sudden burst of anger, she threw the bottle against the wall. It shattered into many tiny shards with an ear-piercing sound. He hurt my brother, and all France wanted to do was bring me food. How could he do that to someone so kind? The smile had fully disappeared now, replaced by an expression of pained rage. I couldn't take it anymore after that, so I stopped him. I ended it. My eyes widened at the truth, but I didn't blame her. After everything she described, she deserved peace. I fought back until he couldn't hurt us anymore. Then I took Frank, i.e., and we left. We started our new life together as ROG, UEs, and it was perfect until we were attacked. All I could think about was protecting France, but I was losing so much blood. I thought we were done for until Harrison, Thompson, and Samson saved us. We were like a family after that. She smiled, and it made me smile too. I have always loved the way she smiles. Unfortunately, a look of deep sadness replaced it. But in one brief moment, everything I cared about was snatched away. We were out running when an alpha and his pack surrounded us and took us to a dungeon. We weren't even on his territory, but he said that because we were rogues, we were guilty of something. He treated us terribly for days. France couldn't take it, and when he started to cry, she stopped, her mind wandering off. The sadness reflected in her brown eyes was heartbreaking. What happened? I asked softly. A single tear slid down her cheek. All her pain and sorrow seemed to be in that tiny tear, and I felt my own eyes begin to sting. They took his life. It was a slow, agonizing process involving Silver, and I couldn't save him. I had sworn to protect my little brother, and in the end, I failed. I felt numb to the world after that, but the boys were filled with rage. They started a rebellion, and we broke free, but we got separated in the chaos. I waited at our meeting spot for a whole week, but they never came. I was 18 and entirely alone. I thought they were gone, so I promised to keep living, not just for myself, but for the family I lost and for my mate. 6 years later, I found you. She looked over at me with a beautiful smile that quickly faded. But you didn't want me. I was so happy to meet you, and I would have done anything for you, but you pushed me away. Suddenly, her tears began to overflow. She shook her head and cried out, "Why does it have to be this way?" She threw her arms around me and cried her heart out. She had been hurting for so long, and I had only added to it. I felt like a monster. I reached out and gently took her face in my hands. Ravinia gave me a breathtaking smile, and I felt in that moment that I would do anything to keep it there. "Now I know why you felt the way you did, because of what happened to your sister," she whispered. "I am truly sorry for your loss. Just know that not all rogues are bad, some are just victims of circumstance. And even though you have been so cold to me, a part of me will always care for you." I couldn't hold back anymore. "I care you too, Ravinia." Without thinking, I kissed her. She leaned into me as I wrapped my arms around her. In that moment, I let go of the anger and bitterness that had clouded my heart since my sister's death. I lifted Ravinia into my arms. All I wanted to do was comfort her and give her the affection she had been denied for so long. I knew this wouldn't fix everything overnight, but I couldn't let her hurt like this anymore. 2 years ago, when I first saw her, I had felt a connection. But when I realized she was a rogue, I let my past dictate my future. That decision had haunted me every night we were apart. I had been filled with guilt, and I could no longer pretend I didn't feel for her. As I lay her on the bed, I looked at her with genuine adoration. She was beautiful. We spent the rest of the night together, finally finding the connection that had been missing for so long. Chapter 20. Ravinia. I wake up with a splitting headache and a strange sensation. I blink several times to adjust to the light seeping into Calix's room. Wait a minute, Calix's room? I look around at the familiar decor, from the plain black, gray, and white colors scheme to the balcony overlooking the woods. Who knew drinking would lead me back here? I'm having a serious moment of déjà vu. I don't get much of a chance to understand why I feel this way until I notice the differences compared to the first time I woke up here. Clothes are scattered around the room, and it takes me a moment to realize half of them are mine. In a panic, I look down to see that I'm not wearing anything. Suddenly, the door swings open, and Calix walks in with a glass of water and 2 headache pills. His eyes are filled with anticipation as he hands them to me. He seems nervous, and as I watch him shift from one foot to the other, I finally piece together what happened. Are you okay? Calix asks when he notices my eyes widening. I look at him in shock before I quickly swallow the pills and drink the water. The most intense part of all is that I remember him placing me on the bed. I remember how I had sobered up in that moment, but I still reached out and kissed him. Having him hold me with such care had me wanting to be closer. In the end, I can't blame him for last night because I hadn't done anything to stop him. But as I look up at him now, I am filled with dread. I jump up and race to gather my clothes. Calix looks away, and I don't know whether I should be grateful or frustrated. Was he averting his gaze out of respect, or was he uncomfortable? As I pull on my long, baggy shirt, I hear him clear his throat. I look over as he speaks. I need to ask you something important. I give him a confused look. He stares deep into my eyes and looks incredibly nervous. He takes a deep breath, opens his mouth, but then closes it. This isn't like him at all. Calix, I ask, slightly worried. His lips form a tight line, and I can see the stress in his posture as he finally manages to speak. Do you remember everything that happened last night? I remember drinking a lot, and then we were together, I answer honestly. He seems troubled. That's not all that happened. I raise an eyebrow. What do you mean? I'll explain everything to you later. For now, you should get ready. Get ready for what? He takes a deep breath. Ravinia, will you go out on a date with me? What? I am currently waiting at the entrance of a park in a nearby town, waiting for Calix to show up. Truth be told, I didn't actually agree to this. This morning, I was going to tell him it wasn't a good idea, but I only got to say okay before he cut me off. So, here I am. On the plus side, you look great. Galen comments, trying to be positive. I look down at my outfit, a loose cherry red tank top, black skinny jeans, and knee-high black boots. My hair is slicked back into a tight ponytail. Just as I was about to give up on him, Calix shows up in an outfit similar to our first night out. He looks really good, and his scent seems more noticeable today. Hey, sorry, I'm a little late. I had to handle something at the house, he apologizes, awkwardly scratching the back of his head before giving me a genuine smile. He's actually being sweet, Galen sighs. I stare at him in confusion as a memory flashes through my mind. Hey there, grizzly bear, I slurred while giggling at the silly nickname. I saw Calix roll his eyes, but a slight smile played on the corners of his lips. Well, let's go, he says, softly taking my hand and leading me into the park. I stare at him, trying to make sense of the memory. I know it happened last night because I was drinking, and it would explain the random giggling. Did I really call him a grizzly bear? I'm still trying to figure it all out when Calix suddenly stops and turns to look at me. I look into his gray eyes and see so many emotions that I'm almost overwhelmed. He is being so sincere. What happened last night that made him change so much? Just a bit further ahead, he explains. I nod as I follow him. I know something else happened last night. But what? I take a drink from the bottle in my hand before letting my head drop. My hair falls around my face like a dark veil. I look through my hair at Calix, and he looks at me with something I've never seen before. He looks at me with pure admiration. Just then, his eyes resembled how they looked in my memory, staring at me as if I were the most important person in the world. I start to notice how purposeful his movements are. He is anxious to get to our destination. We soon come to a stop, and that is when the worry settles in. Is this where the temporary date ends? I hope you like it, he says, stepping aside. I gasp, clasping my hands over my mouth. Between a group of trees is a picnic blanket and a basket with snacks spread out. I smile at the sight and turn to face Calix, who looks worried. Well, he asks, waiting for my answer. I love it, I say softly. His face lights up with relief, but I'm still uncertain. He looks so sincere, so pure. But what is he going to tell me about last night? Chapter 21. Ravinia. I stare at the beautiful picnic setting in wonder as Calix gently takes my hand and leads me toward it. He has a soft smile on his face, and I can hardly believe what is happening. We sit down, eat a little, and drink some soda, all in complete silence. Ravinia. Calix calls softly. The nervousness in his voice makes my heart race. I turn to him, and he stares at me with hesitation in his stormy gray eyes. What is it? I ask, worried that it is all about to end. Fearful that his words will be hurtful and break my heart once again. I have to confess something about last night. You told me about your past. You told me everything. About your mother, your father, your brother, and how you were separated from your friends. Everything. He looks at me hesitantly, his body tense as he waits for my reaction. I am left speechless. Aside from my friends, I have never told anybody about my past, and it scares me how much I revealed. Tears sting my eyes as the memories of last night flood back. I remember our conversation, how I told him everything, and how I cried about our rejection. I also remember him telling me how Rogue murdered his sister, and that it was the reason he felt the way he did. A whimper escapes my lips as I try to process it all. I look at Calix and see so many emotions in his eyes that I feel embarrassed. I close my eyes and turn my head away, feeling judged. What have I done? I was so reckless to let my guard down like that. I gasp in surprise as I feel gentle fingers under my chin, softly turning my head. Calix gives me a concerned look as he cups my face between his hands and lifts my head to meet his gaze. Calix, I gently cup her cheeks and turn her attention to me as tears pool down her face. It physically hurts to see her cry like this. I have to control the urge to pull her to my chest because what I have to say is important. Ravinia, last night you revealed a lot to me. I'm shocked, but I finally understand what you've been through. I can no longer hide how I feel. At first, I thought I didn't need you. The memory of my sister kept holding me back from my true feelings. But you're everything I want. I love you, Ravinia, and I want you to be my mate and accept me as yours. She stares at me with wide, mesmerized eyes. But the words that come out of her mouth leave me stunned. No, Calix. My breath hitches in my throat. I shouldn't be surprised. I've done so many horrible things to her, it would be nearly impossible to forgive me. She shakes her head sadly as she pulls away from my touch. Calix, if you had told me all of this when we first met, or even on our first date, my answer might have been different. But you didn't. You let me suffer. Besides, you aren't being real right now. What? Face it, Calix. This is a mixture of pity and the fact that we were together last night. You feel sorry for me, and that's not how I want to be loved. I want you to look past my history, look past the pity, and love me for me. This isn't pity. Yes, it is. Can you honestly look me in the eyes and tell me you didn't do all of this because you felt bad for me? I look into her heated brown eyes and realize she is speaking the truth. Much of this is driven by guilt. I can't lie to her. As I shake my head, I see the sorrow in her eyes deepen. Calix, what happened last night was a moment of connection. I will never regret that. But I can't pretend it was purely out of love. It was a moment of weakness for both of us. I do love you, Calix. I always have. But you will always see me as a rogue, and that will never change. So, in the end, I can't accept this. I only nod as tears spill from her eyes and she runs away. I don't have the heart to follow her. I don't even think she wants to see me. I watch as she gets further and further away, my heart heavy with the weight of my mistakes. After a few hours, I return home to see Ravinia with a suitcase. She stops when she sees me. Our eyes meet, both of us trying to hide how much this hurts. Where are you off to? I ask, trying to lighten the mood. It doesn't work. I'm leaving, Calix. Things will never be right between us, and I can't stay here anymore. Clayton howls in pain as he tries to take over, but I stop him. I don't want her to go, but I know my past will only hold us back. I have caused her enough pain. She deserves better than what I have given her. Good luck. I wish you the best, I say. She nods and begins walking away. As she passes me, our shoulders brush together and gentle sparks shoot through me. I ignore them as she continues. This is for the best. Before she is fully out of sight, I call to her. Ravinia. She turns around. You're welcome on my territory anytime. I know you'll miss the boys, so you can come and see them whenever you like. Tears appear in her eyes, but she forces them back. She softly thanks me, bowing her head in gratitude. I nod as she disappears into the woods. Clayton is begging me to go after her, but I remain in place, staring in the direction she left. It reminds me of the day we first met when I chased her away. But this time is different. I don't push away the sorrow as I turn and head back to the house. This is for the best. Chapter 22. Calix, I wake up to nothing but silence as I open my eyes. My bed feels vastly empty without Ravinia at my side. Even though a whole month has nearly gone by, her missing presence still leaves me feeling completely alone. Letting out a sigh, I get dressed and go downstairs. Once I am there, however, all I hear is shouting coming from the dining room. But Samson is about to make a point until a loud exclamation pierces through the room. I look around the corner to see Samson trying to talk to a very angry Julianne, who is glaring at him while Thompson and Harrison cower in fear behind him. In our world, a small percentage of werewolf women tend toward extreme hormonal imbalances during pregnancy. This causes major emotional shifts and intense anger. Julianne is one of those women. What do you think you're doing, Samson? I asked you nicely to get me a burger, and instead, you're sitting around while I have to wait for you actually to leave. Samson looks as pale as a ghost as he tries to explain himself, but is once again cut off. Stop wasting time with these two and take them out to get me my burger. They all nod as they scramble out of the room in a hurry, trying not to trip over each other as they rush past me and out the front door. Ravinia would have probably laughed at that display, but I honestly wouldn't know anymore. She has come around only once since leaving, and that was to see how Julianne was doing. I had been out on business when she decided to stop by. By the time I had gotten home, Briar had informed me of her visit. I didn't see the point in being sad about it. She was likely happier not seeing me that day, and that's all that matters. Besides, she's probably having a better time now than she could have ever had with me. Rave, and I groan as I find myself sick once more, the action leaving an awful taste in my mouth. I am currently at Adela's apartment. For the past month, I have been staying with her until I can find a job and afford my own place. I didn't want to live alone in the woods after leaving Calix's, so I turned to her. She was very supportive and happy to let me bunk with her. She was at work at the moment, which left me alone to deal with my health. I finally stop only to hear my watch alarm go off signaling that the 3 tests I took are ready with the results. I have been feeling terrible since I left. Since it's nearly impossible for werewolves to get sick due to our healing abilities, I had settled on the only logical conclusion. Gulping down my fear, I take the closest one and look at it. Positive. I take a look at the next one. Positive. I'm sure that proves it, but I take a look at the last one, and I'm not surprised by what it shows. Positive. I should be happy, and I am, but all I feel at this moment is sadness. I'm pregnant with Calix's baby, and he doesn't even know. I'm conflicted on whether or not I should tell him. On one hand, Calix deserves to know. It is his child, after all. But on the other hand, I am still not ready to face him. My emotions are a mess. I lie down on my bed and let the tears fall. This baby would be born into a difficult situation, Asian, and I can't help but feel guilty about that. None of this is mine. This isn't how I wanted to raise a child. I want a loving home, free from the burdens I had when growing up. Instead, this child would be born into a position where their parents aren't even together. As I lay there, I heard the front door open with Adela calling loudly for me. She sounds scared and out of breath. I race to the living room. Adela, what's wrong? I just heard from my pack that a group of hunters has started a conflict. My pack is leading the defense along with 2 others. Which ones? She is quiet for a moment, hesitant to speak. South Equinox and Climax Night. Climax night. Calix's pack. I don't wait for her to finish as I race out of the apartment toward Calix's territory. She calls out to me in a panic, but I ignore her as my feet carry me toward the pack house. I knock frantically on the front door, hoping Calix will answer. Adela's message has made me realize that, even if we are apart, Calix deserves to know the truth. He shouldn't leave for a conflict without knowing. I feel a brief sense of relief when the door starts to open, but it falls when I see Julianne. Her eyes are red and puffy as she wipes away stray tears. She must have just gotten the news. I feel terrible for her. I know I will also worry about Samson, Harrison, and Thompson as they go off to protect the territory. I might even fear about Calix. Ravinia, what are you doing here? She asks in a weak, shaky voice. I heard about the hunters. I came to speak to Calix. It's important. She begins to cry again. I move closer to hug her, looking around for Samson to come and comfort her so that I can find Calix. I'm sorry, Ravinia. They. What is it, Julianne? I try to calm her down. Once she has composed herself enough to speak, her words leave me frozen. They already left. I collapse to the floor in disbelief, falling to my knees while Julianne lets out a small gasp. I am having a hard time processing her words. Calix is already gone, and he doesn't even know. Chapter 23. Calix 2 weeks. 2 tiring weeks of war, and it was just the beginning. I find myself worrying about those we had to leave behind, but it is for the best. With us here to fight, the children can be spared the horrors of conflict. It's not to say the women aren't capable fighters. However, for those with children, it was better that they stayed back while the rest of us moved to the front lines. Through all of this, I find myself missing Ravinia. To see her and know she is safe would be enough, though I am sure she is fine. She is a true fighter. It would be nice to have her here, though. Go to her then. Clayton commanded, his tone powerful. She wants nothing to do with me, Clayton. And even if she did, we are in the middle of a war. I can't just drop everything, I shot back. Hunters are ruthless. To them, we are nothing but flaws they feel the need to correct by wiping us out. If I don't stop them, they will attack everyone, including my pack. With so many lives on the line, losing is not an option. You look terrible, Calix, Harrison said, taking a seat next to me. I was in the planning room, going over strategies, when I got distracted by my thoughts. I gave him an unimpressed look before directing my attention back to the maps. I'm worried about the pack. Not to mention Ravinia, never mind. He nodded in understanding before Thompson stepped in. I couldn't help but overhear. I don't blame you. However, you're doing better than Samson at least. Poor Samson. He has been worrying himself sick about Julianne. With her being pregnant, his anxiety has nearly reached a breaking point. Samson is fine during training, but once it is over, he sits in a corner for hours. We aren't allowed to make contact as a safety measure, so he is struggling. There is the mind link, but with our instincts in battle mode, the connection to those left behind is weak, bordering on impossible. It must be tough knowing his mate is carrying his child while a threat looms. At least I don't have that kind of stress on my plate. Ravinia, I can't live without him knowing, Julianne. I cried as I ate another tomato I had been craving all day, despite usually disliking them. I know this is hard, Ray, but things will get better, and you'll be able to tell him everything. I nodded sadly as I looked outside. The pack of children was playing, and the mothers were talking about their mates at the front. More tears filled my eyes as I headed upstairs. Rushing into Calix's room, I threw myself on the bed and picked up the ultrasound picture of our baby from the nightstand. I held it tightly, buried my face in a pillow, and allowed myself to cry as I thought about Calix. I miss him, but mostly I feel tormented that I can't tell him about our child. I went to the pack doctor a few days ago and got the photo. It's just a small blur, but it's there. It's our child, the life I'm carrying. My thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. I wanted to be alone. Go away, I yelled. It's me, Julianne. Her voice sounded from the hallway. Leave me alone, Julianne. I want to be by myself. Please, Ravinia. Open the door. I sat up, confused. Her voice sounded terrified and was trembling with distress. Something's wrong. I don't hear the children outside anymore. In fact, I don't hear anything at all, Galen commented, and I agreed. I opened the door to see if Julian was okay. I couldn't ignore how terrified she sounded. I gripped the picture in my hand as the door swung open and I froze. Julian had a knife to her throat held by a hunter. Another stood by her side, smirking. "I'm so sorry, Ravinia," she whispered. "Be quiet," the leader said before turning to me with a grin. "Sources say you're the Alpha's mate. Is this true?" I glared at him. "I wouldn't tell you anything." His smirk fell, and he snapped his fingers. The man holding Julianne pressed the silver blade into her skin. She cried out as it began to burn her. "Answer me," the leader yelled. Okay, I'm his mate. Stop hurting her." The leader smirked and signaled the man to stop. Perfect. Just who I wanted to see. He walked closer to me, pulling me toward him by the waist. He flicked out a blade and dragged it across my arm, making me struggle in pain. He threw me to the floor and leaned over me, the knife centimeters from my throat. "Your mate has been making trouble for us, so let's see what happens when he realizes he shouldn't have messed with us," the man growled. I struggled, still gripping the ultrasound picture. He noticed and ripped it from my hand, his eyes widening at the image. "You're carrying his child?" He fisted a clump of my hair, making me cry out, then slammed my head against the floor. I felt lightheaded and dizzy as the world began to spin. Just before I passed out, I saw his grin. Even better. Chapter 24. Ravinia, my head stings as I open my eyes. Everything is blurred, and I have to blink a couple of times to regain my vision. But I immediately wish I were blind when I see what appears before me. Long, silver bars greet me as I sit alone in my dungeon cell. What also seems before my vision are hundreds of other cells with the other female and children pack members huddled inside them. It is a horrifying sight, and tears blind me as I see how terrified they look. I close my eyes tightly when I hear echoing screams in my head. Gripping my hair in my hands, I shake in anger and fear as the memories fill my mind. I'm shaking in pain as I slowly get up off the filthy floor. I look up to see the boys surrounding France, trying to get food down his throat, but it's very hard when he has been so severely mistreated. "France," I whisper, tears filling my eyes as I rush toward him. He is awfully weak. I fear that he won't make it, Thompson stresses, panic clear on his expression. I shake my head furiously, not wanting to believe the worst. "He'll be fine. I won't let him die." As I say that, our cell opens and two guards step inside. One points to France while the other commands that we hand him over. I stand on weak legs between the guards and my little brother and shake my head in defiance. "No, he already suffered today." "Move," one growls, but I push him back. "Please, leave the boy alone." "Take one of us instead," Samson pleads, but he is harshly pushed aside. "No," I yell, trying to protect my brother, but he is already dragged out, and the cell door locks behind them. "Ravinia," he cries, and I see him reaching out to me. He is so far away, and all I can do is cry as I reach out my hand through the bars in desperation. I hear him from one of the rooms down the hall, and I bang on the bars in vain. "Please don't hurt him. Take me instead," I cry. "Don't cry, France. Just don't cry, and you'll be fine. Please hang on a little longer." My thoughts are disrupted when a loud cry pierces through the entire dungeon, and I freeze at the sound. "No. France, no." I begin to panic as I try to break open the cell to get to him. The boys are yelling things to me, but their words are dull in my ears as I rattle the bars to get to my brother. But nothing works. In the end, I'm on my knees, holding onto the bars for dear life as the reality of the situation settles around me. My thoughts are broken as numerous whimpers sound around me. I look up and glare as the leader of the hunters smirks down at me. "You're finally awake," he states, his grin taunting me. I growl as I grab onto the bars, but immediately let go when they burn me. My body falls to the ground. I clutch my hands close to my chest, but look up when I hear him laughing. How dare he laugh at my pain? "I guess you didn't know, but the bars are made of silver. You know, to keep you in line," his teasing tone irritates me. I'll show him who is in line. Without warning, I pounce. I jump up against the bars and ignore the burning pain as I grab the man's collar and begin to pull him against the bars. I only get a few moments before he grabs my wrists and throws me back. The pain I feel is like a wave of heat, but I try to ignore it as I shakily sit up. I glare at the man as he smirks at me, but soon I'm the one smirking as I notice blood flowing from his nose. Oops, I say innocently. He raises his hand to touch the blood and rubs it between his fingers. I'm shocked when he darkly chuckles after a few seconds and looks at me with amused eyes. I'm going to enjoy breaking you. Calix, I stare out of the window at the seemingly never-ending forest. I've been worrying about Ravinia recently, as I have no clue where she is. A couple of hours ago, I sent a pack member to check on the house. This didn't seem to bring me much comfort as I assumed Ravinia wouldn't be there with the others, but I hope she's somewhere safe. I see the scout returning sooner than I expected and rush downstairs to greet him. As I get downstairs, the grave look on his face has me feeling very worried. He falls to his knees in exhaustion. How are they? Samson asks, his tone pleading. The man sadly shakes his head before looking at me. They're gone. The mark of the hunters was left on one of the walls. There was no one there when I arrived. We all stiffen at his words, and Samson finally snaps. Liar! He grabs the tired man by his shirt, shaking him in disbelief. Tell me that it's not true. The other two pull him away as I go up to the scout. I hold out my hand to him and help him up. Don't beat yourself up about it. Samson is just worried since his mate is also expecting, I explain to him calmly. Samson is crying, his hands covering his face as Thompson and Harrison try to console him. I know how Samson feels. I want to fall on my knees and call out for Ravinia because I don't even know where she is in the midst of this mess. But I have to stay strong. My pack needs a source of strength right now. Alpha, the man calls out to me in a soft voice, and I turn my attention to him. I found this in your room, on the floor, while searching the house. It's a picture that I believe belongs to the Luna. I nod and take the crumpled piece of paper. Why would a picture of ravens be in my room? She left a month ago. Once I open it, I see a dark image with a small, white blur in the middle. My eyes trail down to the words in the corner. Woods, Ravinia ultrasound printout heartbeat healthy. My hands shake from shock as I drop to my knees. She's pregnant. Chapter 25. Ravinia, I cannot believe I let them take me. Now my wrists are chained behind me to a wall in silver bonds. I'm on my knees like a dog. But I won't be broken. I'll die before I allow them to get satisfaction out of my pain. I won't scream and I won't cry. You look comfortable. The leader's voice cuts through the silence, making me glare at him. His sickening grin is still there, taunting me. But with his bandaged nose, he doesn't seem quite so intimidating. He begins to walk toward me, his steps relaxed, in no hurry at all. He stops a few feet away. You know, I've been waiting for this moment since you and your pack got here. I don't care what you were waiting for, but I swear if you hurt any of them. Oh, don't worry about them. They'll be in your position soon enough, he chuckles, kneeling in front of me. But not before you're broken first. Once you fall, the rest will. He doesn't even finish before I lash out and kick him right in the face. Get away from me. I cry out as he harshly grabs my hair and pulls my face level with his. My arms ache and my wrists burn as he pulls me to the extent of the chains. Ravinia, I'm scared. Galen whimpers in my head. It's going to be okay, Galen. We aren't going to let the past repeat itself. No, I'm scared for the baby. Just as she says that, I'm thrown to the hard ground. He pushes me onto my back, and I feel a surge of panic. If I recall, you're expecting, he says, flicking out a knife. My eyes widen as he moves it closer. So I'd suggest you mind your manners and stay quiet. You're the monster, I growl as he forces me back onto my knees. I cry out in agony as he uses a silver object to burn my arm, moving it slowly. The pain is intense, and I can't help but let a few tears fall. Ravinia, protect the baby. Galen cries. In a split second, I drop to the floor, curling my body to protect the life growing inside me. He growls at my defiance and strikes my side, but I refuse to give in. Get up. No. Calix, I feel a searing pain in my chest as I stare at the hunter's headquarters. Something is wrong, but as we push forward, I know I have to focus on getting my pack, Ravinia, and my baby back. They're hurting her. I can feel it. Clayton is going crazy in my head. I know, but we have to stay focused, I tell him, trying to maintain the element of surprise. We make our way inside, into the heart of the building. As soon as we are inside, there is no turning back. Leave me alone. We look over to see Julian running, her hands held firmly over her stomach. A couple of hunters grab her as she stops to catch her breath. Where do you think you're going? One growls, tugging her toward him. One of them lifts his hand, but before he can make contact, Samson loses it. In the blink of an eye, he has neutralized the threat. Sammy, Julian cries, hugging him tightly. You're okay. You and the baby are okay, he says, relieved. She suddenly gasps, pulling away. They took Ravinia. I heard her crying out just a few moments ago. With those words, a pained scream echoes through the halls. It makes us all stiffen. With my willpower nearly gone, I run as fast as I can toward the sound. The cries get louder as I get closer. I kick down the door, and the scene before me makes my blood boil. She is chained to a wall, her skin marked by burns. A man is standing over her, and she is crying. The leader's eyes light up when he sees me. Look what we have here, the leader smirks. He quickly forces Ravinia to her knees and dares to move the silver object toward her again. Her cries fill the room, and my temper flares. But seeing me move, he crouches down and holds the silver near her. I freeze. Now. We wouldn't want any accidents, would we? Ravinia whimpers, struggling to pull away from him. How dare you hurt her? I growl, glaring at him with pure rage. She's just a rogue. I don't mind. I growl but stop as he moves closer to her. He puts his face next to hers, and she turns away in disgust. Though it's a shame such a pretty thing had to get mixed up in this. Especially with a child on the way. He doesn't finish. Ravinia turns on him, biting him as hard as she can. Taking that as my moment to strike, I lunge forward and tackle him. Finish him, Ravinia gasps. I ensure he will never hurt anyone again before turning to her. Ravinia. I rush over as she sobs. I break her chains, ignoring the sting of the silver. I gently take her in my arms, and she clings to me. You came for me, she whispers, as if she can't believe I'm really there. Of course I did. Ravinia, I was so worried about you. I would do anything to have you by my side. My honesty leaves her in shock, and she cries harder into my shoulder. I pick her up and gently kiss her forehead to comfort her as I lead her out of that place. The conflict isn't over yet, but she is in my arms, and both she and the baby are safe. Chapter 26. Calix, we finally make it back to the base, and the other captives have returned safely with us. Ravinia is still in my arms, but luckily, she has stopped crying. I stare at her body worriedly. Even though she is in the middle of healing, her injuries still look severe. I carry her up to my temporary room and lay her down gently on the bed. She looks over and gives me a small smile. Thanks for saving me. No problem. We fall into an awkward silence. This is the first time we've seen each other in a month, and the tension is thick, especially after my confession at the hunter base. I told her that I'd climb every mountain and swim across oceans to be by her side. It was a lot to say in the heat of the moment, and this is the first time we've spoken since then. Calix. Yes? Do you need something? Well, she hesitates, wringing her wrists nervously. Did you really mean what you said? The thing about climbing mountains and swimming oceans for me. I stay quiet for a moment. I want to tell her that I meant it, but I fear she won't believe me. After all, I've made her feel so unloved that she ended up leaving. But I've got nothing left to lose. Yes, I did mean it. She goes quiet and turns her gaze away. My eyes trail over her and stop at her stomach. I remember the photo. Going over to my desk, I grab the crumpled ultrasound printout and hold it out for her. Here. I believe this belongs to you. She looks over and gasps, her eyes widening as she recognizes the paper. With trembling fingers, she takes it from me and stares at it. "Where did you get this?" she asks, holding the image of our baby. "One of the pack members brought it back. He found it at the house and thought it was right to give it to me," I reply. She slowly turns to look at me, tears filling her eyes. "I wanted to tell you. I swear I did. It's all right, Ravinia. I understand why you didn't. I don't think I'd be a great role model for our child anyway. No, that's not seriously. I ruined things between us. I wouldn't be surprised if you never let me see our child. I don't deserve anything after what I did." She stays quiet, more tears falling. I hate to see her so upset. Sitting next to her, I pull her into my arms to comfort her. Having her close feels right, and she finally hugs me back, her body trembling as she sobs against my chest. I stroked her hair in an attempt to calm her. "Please don't cry. I'm not upset, I promise," I plead. She shakes her head, mumbling, "I did want to tell you, Calix. But on the day I found out, you had already left. It's been so hard keeping this from you." I hold her at arm's length, confused. Why would she want to tell me after everything? I feel a lump in my throat, and I'm surprised when her soft hands gently cut my face, wiping away a tear. "Please don't cry," she begs. I try to move her hands away, feeling a wave of guilt. "I don't deserve your comfort. I gave you nothing but hate. I don't deserve your mercy, Ravinia." Ravinia, his words pain my heart. He's beating himself up over this, and I'm surprised to see such genuine guilt in his eyes. He is truly upset about what he has done. "Calix, please stop. This isn't like you." "No, Ravinia. I let you suffer. It's what I deserve." He goes quiet for a bit before meeting my gaze. "You once asked why rejection was created. I think I've figured it out." "Why?" I ask. "Rejection exists so that people like me can realize what they've lost, what they could have had. To make us regret every second that those we've pushed away aren't by our sides. To make us regret having no one to lean on when times are tough. Why would you regret not having me around?" "I'm a rogue, Calix. I don't care about that." His voice is strained. "You didn't hurt my sister. I've been holding on to that pain for so long, and it's ruined everything. I should have been a better mate. I am truly sorry that I rejected you." Tears sting my eyes. "You really regret it that much? Ravinia, you have no idea." It goes silent as I hold his face in my hands. He eventually pulls away and stands up. "I'd better leave. You're probably tired." He starts to walk out, but I refuse to let him go. Not until I have an answer. I jump off the bed and grab his arm. "Calix, do you love me?" "What?" "I need to know the truth. Is this just guilt, or are you genuinely sorry? Look me in the eyes and tell me what you feel." He looks shocked, but he turns fully toward me. With a shaky hand, he reaches out and softly strokes my cheek. His touch is so gentle, as if he's afraid I'll break. "Ravinia, I love you. I've always loved you. I'm sorry for never showing it," but he pulls away slightly. "You deserve better than what I can give you." I shake my head and grab his hand, placing it back on my cheek. Sparks run up and down my arms, and I see him shiver as he feels them too. "You love me," I whisper. "I don't need anything else, Calix. If you promise that this love is real, if you promise to stand by me, then I will accept you. I will forgive you. But you have to show me. I want to hear you say that you accept me for me." "Ravinia," he hesitates, then sighs. "I accept you for exactly who you are. I love you with all my heart." That's all I need to hear. I pull him close and kiss him. He's surprised at first, but leans into it, wrapping his arms around my waist. He holds me as if I'm the most precious thing in the world. Chapter 27. Calix, I watch as my beautiful mate sleeps, her breath small and soft. She is curled up against me while I stare at her with a concerned gaze. She looks so much better since her rescue a week ago. The hunters are somehow still going strong despite the loss of their leader. They are still able to counter our moves and execute strikes of their own. I thought for sure that the loss of their leader would stifle their spirits, but it seems there may be another person pulling the strings. This doesn't look good for us, and if this keeps up, we may be in serious trouble unless we end this conflict immediately. My thoughts are interrupted when Ravinia whimpers in my arms, her body trembling as her eyes slowly open. Seeing her like this makes me wonder how I could have ever been so cruel to her. How could I have seen the struggle on her face and still managed to walk away from her as if she were meaningless? I feel unworthy of her love. She should have put me through the same pain I caused her as punishment for my actions. Instead, she chose mercy. She gives me a tiny smile, one filled with relief as she cuddles closer to me. She nuzzles her nose into my neck, telling me that my scent brings her comfort. I smile as I wrap my arms around her waist, pulling her close. She has been very attached since she returned, but I neither blame her nor mind. This is one of the many things I would do only for her. I had a nightmare again. It was difficult, she whispers. I gently stroke her hair with one hand while the other rests on her belly. I remember how happy she was when we went to the pack doctor to check on the baby. The child is safe and healthy, which brought us so much relief. But my emotions are conflicted. I love her and the baby with all my heart, yet I still struggle with the feeling that I don't deserve this happiness. I'm brought out of my thoughts when I feel soft hands carefully wipe away the tears slipping down my cheeks. I hadn't noticed I was crying until I met Ravinia's gaze. "Why are you crying?" "Did I say something wrong?" she asks innocently. "I feel like I don't deserve you. You should have given me as much pain as I gave you. Why did you forgive me? Ever since you got back, I can't stop thinking that I let you suffer for so long. How can you move past what I've done?" I let my guard down and pour my emotions out to her. It is surprisingly easy to show her my true feelings now. I feel her pull me closer and immediately her lips connect to mine. Ravinia puts all her passion into the kiss and I hold her closer to my chest. "I love you, Calix." That is all she says. No lectures or scolding. Just those simple words. For some reason, they're exactly what I need to hear. They're everything. We lay back down, and I softly rest my hand on her stomach. "Ravinia, does he have to go?" Galen whines as we watch our mate head out with the pack to handle the conflict. "I don't like it either, but until this is over, there is nothing else that can be done," I reply. I rub my stomach for comfort. I am acknowledging the life growing inside me, that Calix and I are going to be parents. I wonder what the baby will be. A boy or a girl? Will they look like Calix or me? Will they have my eyes or his nose? Will they be calm or fierce? If I'm being honest, I don't care about the details. I pray to the moon goddess for a healthy, happy child. I hope they have a spirit as energetic as Francis, so that in a way, my brother can still be here with me. That is my greatest wish. A smile passes over my face as I picture how much better life will be once the baby arrives, how my dream of having a happy, loving home, free from fear, will finally become a reality. I am walking downstairs for a drink when the front door bursts open, and the sight makes me go weak. The men have returned, and many are injured. The scent of copper, silver, and wolfsbane fills the air as people rush inside. Many women have already started to flock around their mates, trying to help. My blood goes cold as I look through the crowd, but I don't see Calix. I almost lose hope until Harrison comes stumbling in, injured, with a battered Calix leaning on him for support. Calix looks exhausted and is covered in bruises. "Calix," I gasp, shocked into silence. Samson comes in carrying Thompson, who looks unresponsive. I almost cry as Harrison rushes to help them toward the medical wing, while Calix limps toward the stairs. He sits on the second step, his head in his hands, his posture radiating frustration. I slowly walk over and sit next to him. I wrap my arms carefully around his neck, being cautious of his injuries. "They ambushed us," he finally says after a long silence, his voice full of remorse. "Calix, it's okay." "No, it's not." I jump at his sudden outburst as he looks at me. The pain in his eyes breaks my heart. They've gotten stronger. Everyone almost didn't make it today. If this goes on, we are in serious trouble. I don't know what to do. I have never been good at finding the right words to say. Years of difficult experiences can make you second-guess yourself and feel uncertain about how to comfort someone. My silence doesn't seem to help as he begins to stand up and limp away. My heart stutters. I don't want him to go. "Calix, wait." He stops and turns. "Ravinia, I need to be alone for a while." As he limps away, I shake my head as tears threaten to fall. I don't want to believe he should be alone right now, but I don't have the heart to chase him. I wonder if I could even provide the comfort he needs. Chapter 28. Ravinia, sometimes I wish hunters would die very quickly and suddenly so that Calix and I can finally have a perfect life together. Is that too much to ask? Yes, it is, darling, Galen replies, even though I didn't want an answer. I sigh as I look over at Calix, who is in the planning room preparing battle strategies with the other men, the ones who aren't in the infirmary. I understand he needs to be the alpha in charge, but he has been distant for 2 weeks. Whenever he looks at me, I feel like I'm just an obstacle in his way. He looks over, and his stormy eyes catch mine. Something flashes there, something like longing, but it vanishes, and he turns back to his maps. I shake my head with sorrow and walk away, my heart heavy with the feeling that he doesn't want me near. I head into the infirmary and see Thompson in one of the beds, his leg in a cast. He's flirting with Florence, the nurse who is his mate. Seeing them so happy makes me feel a painful mix of love for them and jealousy. I have to take care of another patient, Thompson, she says, but he tugs on her skirt to pull her back. I'm the only one you should take care of, baby. She rolls her eyes at his grin but taps his cast, making him wince. Once he lets go, she sashays away, giggling. Thompson sighs with adoration before noticing me. Oh, hey, Rere. I didn't see you there. How have you been? I'm terrible. How are you? I answer honestly, sitting next to him and rubbing my stomach for comfort. What's wrong? He asks, his grin dropping. Suddenly, I explode. Everything. My mate is avoiding me, the hunters are waging war, and I'm scared they're going to win. You got hurt, and I'm afraid we're going to die like France. I'm afraid I'll lose my child and my mate, and I want to vomit all the time. Thompson looks at me with wide eyes, as if I've grown a second head. I'm breathing heavily, shaking with rage and exhaustion. Something in my midsection doesn't feel right, but I brush it off as anger. Just as Thompson is about to speak, Calix's voice sounds from behind me. Maybe I avoid you because I don't want to see you like this. I turn and lose my temper completely. I walk over and strike him, the force sending him to the floor. We glare at each other. I love you, and I'm carrying your child, and you don't want to see me? You know what? Forget you, Calix. Forget the hunters and forget this war. Ravinia, you don't understand what I'm up against. I don't want to see you get hurt. Why can't you understand that being together is? What's the point of being together if you still treat me like I'm not your mate? I don't finish. A sharp, stabbing pain rips through my stomach. I fall to the ground, clutching my middle. Calix gasps in horror as I go limp, the agony intensifying until I'm screaming. Tears fall as I feel like my world is ending. Suddenly, Calix is by my side. Baby, what's wrong? Talk to me. I continue to scream until he lifts me in his arms and places me on a bed. Chaos erupts around me. Calix tries to calm me while Florence rushes to fetch Dr. Evans. I can't handle the pain anymore and soon slip into darkness. Calix paced outside the infirmary, eaten up by guilt for nearly 2 hours. Dr. Evans finally walks out, glaring at me with a burning rage. She was a close friend of my sister's and is like family to me. How is she? I ask desperately. She's stabilized, she growls. But because of the extreme stress you've put her under, she nearly had a miscarriage. My legs go weak. I nearly caused the loss of our baby. She has to be kept under strict supervision now, she continues. Calix, what were you thinking? You pushed her away when she needed you most. You did that to Liliana, and look what happened. Do you want Ravinia to end up the same way? I growl and race out of the house, shifting into my wolf form and running until the house is far behind. I remember the day I lost my sister so clearly. Calix, why won't you let my mate join the pack? Liliana had whined. I don't trust him, Lil. He isn't good for you. If we stay here, you can watch out for me. I want to find my own mate, Liliana. I won't have time to baby you. Fine, then I'll leave. Go then. See if I care. I had pushed her away and told her I didn't care, but I did. By the time I went after her, it was too late. Now, history is repeating itself. I was right. I don't deserve Ravinia. I only know how to cause her pain. Chapter 29. Ravinia. I open my eyes and see that I am in a hospital bed with various monitors attached to me. The curtains have been drawn back, and no one is in sight. My heart monitor starts beeping wildly as I begin to panic, unable to remember what happened. Just then, Dr. Evans walks in, pulling the curtains further back before walking over to me. My monitor slowly decreases its insistent beeping as I relax under her professional gaze. Are you okay? Any pain or discomfort? She asks, her tone soothing and calm. I shake my head as I look around, my eyes tearing up when I see that Calix isn't here. I put my hands over my eyes and begin to cry, both from Calix's absence and the overwhelming hormones. What's wrong, Ravinia? Is the pain returning? Dr. Evans questions, looking worried. Even now, he won't come to see me, I sob. Am I still just a tool to him? My heart feels heavy, pulling itself apart. No words can describe how betrayed I feel. He said he loved me, that he would climb mountains and swim oceans for me. So where is he? Dr. Evans sighs with sympathy as she softly takes hold of my hands. He's out on a run to clear his head. He feels immense guilt for pushing you away. I'm positive that when he returns, he'll be right here next to you. Her words offer a flicker of hope, like a candle in a dark room. It's enough to make me want to believe. I wipe away my tears and rest my hand on my stomach for comfort. Don't worry, Ravinia. Everything is going to be okay. Galen pipes up, making my smile return. Thanks. I needed that, I whisper. Just then, we hear a commotion outside the door, and our ears perk up as we turn our attention toward the hallway. Calix, I sit by a river in my human form as guilt settles into my chest. I wish it would go away, but perhaps I need this. Maybe it is the weight of my actions toward Ravinia finally catching up to me. Don't let the guilt consume you. Clayton barks, his energy flaring. I keep hurting her, Clayton. I'm afraid I'll never change. Don't push her away. She needs you now more than ever. Don't make the same mistake you made with Liliana. My eyes widen at the mention of my sister. He's right. I pushed Liliana away and lost her. I won't let that happen to Ravinia. I love her. Then go to her, Clayton urges. With a newfound determination, I sprint back to the house as fast as I can. I want to see her and make things right. I'll end this conflict and be the mate she deserves. However, I stop in my tracks when I see unfamiliar vehicles parked outside the house. Scent of silver and wolf's bane fills the air. Hunters. My thoughts immediately go to Ravinia and the baby. I burst through the door, only to be stopped by a horrifying sight. Calix, get out of here. Ravinia yells. The new leader of the hunters pulls her roughly against him, placing a silver blade at her throat. I can hear fighting at the back of the house, but my focus is entirely on the room before me. Ravinia is weak from the earlier incident. She can't fight back without risking everything. So, you're the one who took out our previous leader? I should thank you for the promotion, but you're a creature I intend to eliminate. The leader smirks, tightening his hold on Ravinia. Let her go, I growl, my intent clear. If I do I get to deal with you personally? He teases. I look into Ravinia's eyes. They are wide and full of fear for me. I give a simple nod, and the leader grins. No, Calix, don't, she screams, but the leader throws her to the side. She lands on the floor, and I see the tears on her cheeks. The leader charges at me with a knife. As he reaches me, I send him back with a powerful strike. He hits the wall, looking surprised, while I give him a cold smirk. I never said I wouldn't defend myself, I comment. He charges again, but I dodge and force him down. I manage to get a hold of him, but he uses the silver blade to strike my arm. As it burns, I loosen my grip, and he lunges at me, trying to end the struggle. Suddenly, a growl erupts as a midnight blue wolf leaps forward, pulling the leader away from me and throwing him across the room. I look up in shock as Ravinia's wolf, looking weak but determined, stands between us. She is trembling, but she is protecting me. I shift as well, helping her stay balanced as the hunter tries to recover. We don't waste another second. We charge together. Before he can react, I end the threat permanently. We both shift back to our human forms and Ravinia collapses into my arms. You're still recovering. Why did you do that? I ask, looking at her with concern. You're an idiot, she grins weakly. But you're my idiot. And I'd climb every mountain for you too. I breathe out a laugh and kiss her forehead. Stay here. I'll be back. I head outside to join the fray. Without their leader, the hunters are quickly overwhelmed. In the end, we win. The threat is gone. I head back inside to find Ravinia resting against the wall. I scoop her into my arms and spin her around. It's over, Ravinia. The war is over. Then we have a lot to celebrate, she whispers. She pulls me into a kiss, and as the pack begins to gather and cheer, peace finally settles over us. I hold my mate close, knowing that finally, things are going to be okay. Epilogue. Ravinia, Mom. Tommy's being a little brat. My eldest, Fabian, yells as he runs into the kitchen. I sigh and turn to face him just in time to see the triplets, Anthony, Tommy, and Bentley rush inside as well. They are all clutching toy plastic swords, their eyes alight with a familiar, mischievous glint. They remind me so much of their uncles. I swear Harrison and Thompson are terrible influences on them. Fabian somehow managed to avoid their antics, but that's because he is exactly like his father. I'm not sure if it's normal for an 11-year-old to be quite this level-headed, but he is Callum through and through. Fabian, don't call your brother a brat. And you three, stop annoying your older brother, I warn, giving them my best stern mother look. Sorry, Fabian, the triplets chorus, immediately tackling him in a group hug. Look at them. They're so precious, Galen coos in my head. I roll my eyes and take a seat at the kitchen island, feeling every bit of my current exhaustion. Just then, Calix walks in. A soft smile plays on his lips as he ruffles the boy's jet black hair before coming to stand by my side. He hasn't changed much in 12 years, aside from looking a bit more distinguished and sporting a well-groomed beard that suits him far too well. Hello, my love, he says, kissing my cheek. How are you feeling today? I give him a look that tells him exactly how peachy I feel. I'm pregnant with our 5th child. Our eldest is a mini version of you, and we have rowdy 8-year-old triplets running a marathon in the kitchen. I'm great, Calix. Just great. Calix, I roll my eyes playfully at Ravinia's sarcasm, but end up pulling her into my arms. She leans her head against my chest, finally relaxing as the boys begin to follow us out of the room like a rowdy line of ducklings. Fabian, as usual, walks with the posture of a grumpy goose. It's time to see if you're getting a brother or a sister. Any guesses? I ask, looking back at them. A girl, Fabian says blankly, already sounding certain. A girl. A girl, the triplets chant, jumping up and down. I love you, honey, but for the sake of my sanity, this next one better be a girl, Ravinia states, giving me a pointed look. Come on. Don't you want a little Stuart running around? I tease. I want a baby Calix, but I am definitely not naming him Stuart. We enter the infirmary, where Florence waits. She's been the pack's lead nurse for years now and is still as vibrant as ever. She smiles as she helps Ravinia onto the bed. Hey, Ravinia. Good to see you again, Florence gushes as she prepares the sonogram. Let's see if we've got a bouncing boy or a gorgeous girl in there. Just then, the door bursts open. Samson, Thompson, and Harrison storm in, followed by Julianne and her 11-year-old daughter, Ella. Harrison's mate, Wendy, slips in behind them. Is it a girl? Tell us it's a girl, the trio demands. Will you all be patient? Florence snaps, though she's smiling. She moves the wand across Ravinia's stomach, her eyes scanning the monitor. A soft smile grows on her face. Congratulations, everyone. It's a girl. The room erupts. The boys are cheering, Samson and Harrison are high-fiving, and Ravinia actually jumps off the bed and into my arms, laughing with pure joy. It's a Liliana. It's a Liliana, she cries out. The room goes silent. I freeze, the name echoing in my mind. I look down at Ravinia, seeing the slight worry and hope in her cognac eyes as she waits for my reaction. She wants to honor my sister. You want to name her Liliana? I ask, my voice thick with emotion. She nods slowly, her eyes searching mine. I feel a massive weight lifted from my chest, replaced by a surge of love so strong it nearly knocks me over. I let out a shout of joy and twirl her around the room. It's a Liliana. We're having a Liliana. I yell, and the cheers start up again, louder than before. Oh, Calix. I love you, Ravinia giggles, resting her forehead against mine. I love you more than words, Ravinia, I whisper. I lean down, connecting our lips in a kiss that tastes like a decade of happiness and a future full of hope. I pull back just enough to look into her beautiful eyes one more time. And I'd still climb every mountain and swim across every ocean just to be by her side.